WrestleMania weekend. But we're first going to talk a little bit about the WWE Hall of Fame, which featured the Icon Sting announcing his retirement from professional wrestling after 30 glorious years in the business. And we're going to talk a little bit about NXT TakeOver Dallas, which I finally got a chance to see. I did not get to see it in real time because I was actually celebrating my good friend's wedding, which was a lot of fun. And I did kind of keep up with the show on Twitter. Some very newsworthy items coming out of that show. And, just kind of going to talk a little bit about our whereabouts because, been all over the place. I guess I'll just mention it real quick. My grandma's been very sick. Not trying to get into too much detail, but she's been very sick. Nowhere near as sick as her. Got the flu a couple weeks ago, and that was, ridiculous. I was, bedridden, ridiculously, sick. A couple weeks before that, I had a sinus infection. A month before that, I had, a sinus infection. Every month I've had, a bad cold the last, few months. So did some allergy tests, did some stuff to see what was wrong with me. Gonna get the results soon. And, then I got the flu, and that kind of, sucked. So didn't have a voice. Couldn't watch, wrestling or TV or anything for, 3-4 straight days without getting a serious migraine for a while. And, finally got better. And then I developed a cough. Started losing my voice. And, I guess it's kind of the remnants of the flu. So I've been on antibiotics now for the better part of about a month, which is really, really annoying. But my voice is back for the most part. And WrestleMania is this Sunday, and I am happy. I am excited for WrestleMania. I was excited to watch NXT. It was a great show. The Hall of Fame was pretty entertaining. And WrestleMania, even with all its faults, should be entertaining. Although, not going to lie, I'm going to put Walking Dead on at 9 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to find out what the hell the deal is with Negan and what Daryl Dixon's fate is. And, I'm going to have two things on at the same time. So, hopefully, during the 9 to 10:30 p.m. period, they put some of the crappier matches on. Although, I'm sure we'll get the Hell in a Cell and all that jazz. But anyway, that's kind of a nutshell where I've been. A lot of family visited my grandma, and, they got sick too. So it was just, it's been a little crazy on the end of Fred. I know Scott's had a little bit of a crazy time as well. Best wishes to his young daughter who is recovering from an ear infection. And she actually got into a fight with Lana, rumor has it, in Dallas, Texas. But the 4-year-old did get the upper hand on Rusev's future wife. And
5.5.
5.5, excuse me. And Scott actually just celebrated his wife's 24th birthday, so that's pretty cool. And
she will like the fact she loves you now even more for saying 24. Yes.
Yeah, so it's some good things going on too. Just been kind of a little crazy on our end, especially on my end. And I do appreciate all the positivity, like the New Day being sent my way during this kind of rough patch. So thank you very much. And it's a wonderful time to be a wrestling fan because Shinsuke Nakamura's in the WWE. We got to honor some great legends tonight. And Scott, I guess we'll start with Stinger announcing his retirement, having a great speech after Ric Flair went forever. Ric Flair
talking about himself.
Ric Flair essentially inducted Sting, his daughter Charlotte, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Ricky Steamboat, Linda McMahon, and Gold's Gym all in one night. I could not believe it. He put over all of them, and at the end he's like, I got to thank Linda McMahon, and, thank Sting, and, Gold's Gym, and he did not elaborate on what he meant, but I'm assuming it mean he was talking about all the Gold's Gyms that he used to own.
Yeah, he did mention that. He did.
Oh, did he mention he owned them?
Yeah, because he thanked Linda McMahon for, setting him up with it.
Oh, okay,
1992, and then there was, 10 Gold's Gyms, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I guess I don't know. I can imagine some fans being confused by that. It's like Gold's Gym. At least he didn't say the Gold Club. That would be, something a little bit different, which you could Wikipedia that if you don't.
That actually closed down near me. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on. But, Scott, what did you think about Sting announcing his retirement?
Kind of assumed it was coming. TMZ, I believe, broke the story a couple weeks ago, and then Sting was going back and forth. No, I'm not officially retired. Interesting side note, though, at the end, he said it's not goodbye, it's see you later. So, maybe do we still see him tomorrow night in some capacity with any luck? That would be pretty cool. But
I don't think so. I think he's just kind of going to be around, and what would be cool, and it's not going to happen because I think Shane McMahon might be sticking around, or maybe Shane McMahon doesn't stick around. How about Shane McMahon finds a way to win at Hell in a Cell? And instead of, I was thinking, Shane's going to be the GM, right? of Monday
Yeah,
Night Raw,
you would
he
think.
assigned Sting as the GM of Monday Night Raw and keeps Sting around. And for those that don't know, if you guys didn't watch TNA years ago, Sting was actually one of the bright spots of TNA for many years because he was seriously phenomenal on the mic. I mean, he probably did. It's crazy to say this, but he really did some of the best mic work of his career in TNA, and usually as an authority figure, some kind of like on-air character, even when he wasn't wrestling, he did a very good job in that role as like GM or head of the network or whatever the hell he was doing. Back in like 2010, 2011. So I think he'd be really good in that role. I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, I guess Shane McMahon would, to younger fans and to some slightly older fans, would probably be like, I don't say a bigger attraction, live event wise, but I don't know. I think maybe he resonates more because he's younger and did the crazy spots. I don't know. But I think Sting or Shane McMahon, that combo of maybe Shane like occasionally appearing as like a figurehead on Raw, but Sting being like the full-time GM, I think it'd be kind of cool. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, well, the question I guess would be, does Sting want to go on the road pretty much full time at this point? Which I know it's not technically full
Well,
time.
it'd be once. Well, I mean, it'd be like once a week, once every couple weeks. I mean, get the Jerry Lawler deal, and then you could kind of go home and just do your thing.
But, again, would WCW though? Oh, I guess I just spoiled what I was going to say. But would WWE go back to an old WCW reference? And since Shane technically bought WCW and Sting was with WCW, could they go back to that again?
Oh God, no, I don't think so. I bet it would draw some funny,
interesting,
some funny conspiracy theories about Sting's whereabouts in kayfabe. When Shane bought.
Well, he did mention Joker Sting though, so
he did. He did. That was not my favorite Sting by any stretch of the imagination.
It was an interesting Sting. I mean, for his age and for what he was doing at that point, I thought it was pretty decent.
I thought it was pretty bad. But what I did like about Joker Sting is that one time, and you guys got to look this up on YouTube. He brought a bird into Eric Bischoff's office. It was like a crow. I don't know if you remember this skit. He brought a bird out of a bird cage, and he put this bird on the table, and this bird prevented Eric Bischoff from interfering in, I forgot what the main event was. This was like some random Impact, in a steel cage match. Never mind the fact it was a steel cage match, and you're not supposed to technically be able to interfere in a steel cage match, but he put a bird in front of Eric Bischoff, and this bird that I guess had powers from Crow Sting and Joker Sting prevented Eric Bischoff from leaving the office. It was the greatest thing I've ever seen. Look it up. It's like, I think that bird even has a Twitter account. I'm not even kidding.
Don't say that.
I'm serious. It did at least a few years ago.
Gosh.
No, I kid you not. So, yeah. Hey, who says Sting didn't create memories in TNA? So is he? I was gonna say, is he the only guy that's now in the WWE Hall of Fame and TNA Hall of Fame?
Let's see.
Who the hell's in the TNA Hall of Fame? There's like
Dudleys
and Kurt Angle.
3D. Kurt Angle. Well, it's only three of them. And AJ is AJ Styles.
No, Jeff Jarrett's in.
Jeff
I don't think Jeff Jarrett's going to do
WWE
Hall of Fame.
Sting would be the only one.
I mean, I guess Kurt Angle eventually, hopefully, in the WWE Hall of Fame.
I mean, Earl Hebner should, but I don't think you'll ever see that happen.
Yeah, and then there's, I guess,
I don't know if Kurt Angle will. I mean, when you think about it, he's been in, WWE, 5 years, TNA 6 years. I mean, maybe not.
He's in TNA a lot longer now. He's in TNA 10 years, man. Well, it was 10 years. Yeah, that's crazy.
That's
I think he'll eventually get in, and Dudley's, I'm sure, will get in eventually as well. After like Christian and maybe like Hardys, or maybe they'll go in one, same year. And
I mean, put it this way, with no disrespect to some of the people we saw go in tonight, I would say it's pretty safe to say Jeff Jarrett will be in the Hall of Fame at one time.
Yeah, well, the Godfather's in, and I actually missed the Godfather speech, and I missed Vader introducing Stan Hansen. Apparently, Vader stole the show, and not in a good way. Although after seeing Dana Warrior talk forever, no offense to her, and seeing Ric Flair induct everybody under the sun, I can only imagine how good or bad Vader's speech was.
Well, I love the fact that the Godfather comes out with the PG hose. Can I say that?
Okay, you could say. Well, that's what his valets were referred to.
How about that? Is that a better way to put it? The PG train. We can edit that later.
Okay. Well, we're live, but no. But okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Take two. We can do like on Raw this past Monday. Wait like 10 minutes and come back and do it again.
Oh yeah, that's right. Like the closing promo with the Authority. Well, anyway, what did Godfather say?
Anyway, it was a quick promo, and to be honest, I was at work getting ready to pack it in for the night. He talked about he talked about his kids, his grandkids. Hard to believe the Godfather has grandkids. Yeah.
Wow.
Basically, I think kind of talked about smoking a lot of weed in a bizarre way too, from what I read on Twitter. there was a couple references to that. So kind of interesting. The EPA inducted him, and we're making fun of the fact they couldn't tell any stories because it was a PG show. And so interesting. And I know you'd mentioned Vader, but the thing with Vader, my question would be, they called Leon White on the phone and say, hey, we want you to induct Stan Hansen into the Hall of Fame. Well, if I'm Vader, Leon White, I'd say, well, why ain't I in the Hall of Fame? What's going on here? To a degree, I can't blame the guy for what he did, and I did miss it because I was on my way home from work. But
it's funny. I once, and it never got set up just because like we had something come up, and I think something came up on his end. But I remember I had one phone conversation with Vader about doing an interview. He called me back when I sent him an email inquiry, and he essentially lectured me and said, I didn't go on the road for all these years and bust my ass and blah, blah, just to do an interview for free. And by the way, TSC policy, we don't pay for interviews. And, it was kind of annoying. I was like, really, dude? I'm like, I've interviewed, like, presidential candidates. Like, no offense. Like, I didn't say it that way. I said it in a nice way. I was like, look, dude, like, our policy isn't to pay for, interviews. Also, he got paid when he was busting his ass on the road. So I don't know what the point he was trying to make. But yeah, I finally was able to convince him. It never came to fruition. Just something came up, and he wasn't able to get it set. But he was very nice. I was able to convince him at the end to do an interview. So maybe one day, eventually, I will finally get him on TSC News. But yeah, that was a very interesting conversation, and he kind of was in his own world and went on and on and on and on. And I have a lot of respect for Vader, but he just kept going on, and it was just like, dude, like bro, I'm not gonna pay for you. Like, no offense. Like, I'm not one of those dudes. Like, it's not like we run a DVD business, you know what I mean? We're supported by YouTube and ads and, some occasional sponsors and stuff. So it was interesting. It was interesting, but hey, worked out in the end. I'll hold him to it eventually. I'll find him one day and just guilt trip him at some wrestling convention and get him on the show. But yeah,
he'll Vader bomb you, and that'll be that.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I did also see him once. I didn't get to talk to him. But when I covered Pro Wrestling Syndicate a couple years ago, this dude literally got paid to come out in his Vader mask. He was dressed like a gym teacher. But he had the Vader mask on, and he was the guest timekeeper.
Was he? Wait, the Vader? Are you talking about the little the leather mask or the big thing you used to wear?
No. The leather mask. He just literally came out with the leather mask, and in sweats. Waved maybe like one fan, sat on his ass, and rang the bell. And he got paid for that. I was like, I gotta get that freaking gig, man. I was like, damn.
I'm telling you. Well, it's
hell of a gig. But yeah, he introduced Stan Hansen. I didn't miss Vader's speech, but I did see Stan Hansen's speech. Great speech. By the way, I'm not gonna be able to do really any of these great speeches justice, but Stan Hansen was awesome. I love the fact he shouted out All Japan and Jumbo Tsuruta and Giant Baba. And put him over as such an honorable guy, handshake deal. It was pretty cool. Talked about the Funks. Talked about how every wrestler needs an opponent, which obviously you need an opponent when wrestling. But what he meant was every wrestler needs like a rival. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Somebody in storyline and behind the scenes that can help make you better. And I thought, man, wouldn't that be nice if that occurred in today's WWE? I mean, really. Wouldn't that be nice? I mean, what? Realistically speaking, like, what's like the one real true rivalry going on right now, like on main roster WWE, and it hasn't even been promoted that well by the main roster. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, because you could literally watch them in the Indies, ROH feuding, NXT now in the main roster.
I was gonna say Sheamus and Roman Reigns.
Oh God, yeah. Well, I don't know if Sheamus made Roman Reigns better, or vice versa. Although, to be fair to both guys, they did have some good matches. Just good matches, not a lot of people really cared about, Which is kind of the story of Roman Reigns' career. He's like in a weird way, he's kind of like I don't know if poor man's John Cena is the right word, because I think that might even be an insult to John Cena, and that's not trying to insult Roman Reigns. I'm just saying.
He's the poor man's Lex Luger.
Kind of. I mean, the thing is, like, no, I'd say John Cena because he can rise to the occasion and have really good matches with a lot of guys, but I feel like his matches don't really mean much, whereas, he gets, at least, like, not until around WrestleMania time when people realize he's headlining WrestleMania and then they get pissed off and everything. But, like, with John Cena, whether you love him or hate him, he elicits a reaction and, people are emotionally invested in every move, and that only occasionally happens in some Roman Reigns matches. You know what I mean? It's almost like apathy.
Yeah.
It's almost like at least like lately, it's almost like apathy. So it's gonna be interesting. But anyway, Stan Hansen talked about every wrestler needs an opponent. Hopefully Vince McMahon was listening, although it probably went from one year out the other, or maybe he was like, well, goddamn, I got Shane McMahon an opponent. And yeah, it was a great speech. He signed off. We had
back an opponent.
Yeah, we had Jacqueline, make her speech. The Dudleys
Very
introduced.
quick.
Yeah, very quick speech. Just thanked everybody. Very classy. Still looks great. I think she's over the age of 50, which is kind of crazy because she was one of my childhood crushes.
Was she really?
Well, dude, I was like 8 years old, and you see this hot chick who kicks ass in the ring, and her and Sable. I mean, damn, man, and come on. I'm like 8 years old watching this. I'm like, hell yeah. Like, I never seen anything like this. It was great. It was great.
I'll give you that.
Although I did usually have to change the channel when her and Sable were on, and my dad walked in because, they weren't exactly PG. So I'd put it. But luckily there was WCW Nitro back then, so I could just turn it on and watch my man Sting. Who I was for Halloween, by the way. Back I think in '98 or '99, which he shouted me out. He shouted out everybody that was him for Halloween, and I am proud to say I was Sting for Halloween. Crow Sting, not Wolfpack Sting. Crow Sting. That was the first time.
Not Surfer Sting.
That was before my time. I didn't really become a fan until like the late '90s, and then as I got older, I kind of got access to the internet, of course, and then actually before that, what really got me into Sting, besides like the video games, like on N64 and stuff, was I went to Canada one time for like a month in Saskatchewan, and if you don't know what Saskatchewan is, it's a province in Canada, and it's very naturey, and it can be really nice, but there's not a lot to do there, at least for a kid like me. You know what I mean? I'm an outdoorsy guy, but I'm not gonna go hunting or anything like that. And they live in a small town called Biggar. I kid you not, Biggar. Look it up. It's a small ass. I mean, I'm talking tiny ass town. So it was cool and everything. It kind of it was like a set of like the Truman Show. Like everything's close by and everybody knows each other. It's kind of weird, but it's kind of cool for like a few days. And I kind of needed something to do. And they had a video store, and we're friends with the video store owner. And this guy had a crap ton of WCW VHS tapes. So in between the times I was kind of bored there, I watched WCW. And I got caught up and watched all the NWO era pay-per-views and everything else. And yeah, that's how I became a huge fan of Sting. And yeah, anyway, that kind of is my random story right there to keep the theme of the night with Ric Flair and all those guys. We had the Freebirds inducted, which was awesome. Interesting, awesome.
Good, yeah.
Awkward. We had the New Day introduce them, and they started a Freebirds rock chant. That was pretty cool. And yeah, then
New Day actually has a name change now too.
What do you mean? Oh yeah, we'll get to
that.
We'll get to. Good God, we'll get to that. But yeah, the New Day, they were just great. They came off as such superstars, and it's just amazing to see how far they've come in the last year plus. I mean, really, to be given like a gimmick that was just stupid. It was just almost like, okay, hey, here's these three guys, and we're gonna have them clap and dance, and and it's just like, it was very oblivious and in some ways stereotypical, like at the beginning. And these guys essentially said, you know what, we're put together, let's do this crap for now, and then when we have a few months on our belt, let's really kind of get in there and try to do our own thing. And they have, and yeah, props to them. I saw them live a couple weeks ago at MSG. They did a phenomenal job of entertaining the crowd. They're great. I really hope they don't get broken up like ever. Like they need to be like the Freebirds.
It goes to show that what you can do given an opportunity.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, Vince gave those guys an opportunity. Like, as weird as that sounds, he didn't break them up after 6 weeks and say forget about it.
Which he could have, and honestly, back then he would have been justified because they were horrible.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and I think a lot of times nowadays that's what happened. And that's the curse of a lot of these guys. Like, they're just not given an opportunity. And so props to Vince for that, I suppose.
Yeah, or in the case of a guy like Sami Zayn, they call him up finally after all these years, and they give like no background whatsoever on why we should really care about him. Now we know because we watch NXT, but does the majority of the audience that watch Raw watch NXT? I'm sure they're familiar with it, but they don't really know who Sami Zayn is. They don't know his history. I mean, hopefully if he wins the Intercontinental title, I'm sure they'll be able to tell the story. Well, they could tell it now, but I'm saying maybe they'll actually be inclined, through video packages to really tell the story of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens.
After what we saw Friday night, I'm not sure he's going to be able to climb a ladder.
Yeah. Oh God.
You know.
Oh yeah, with that crazy match in Nakamura.
What was it that Big E said when New Day was talking about a group or whatever? And I don't want to misuse his words, but they were talking about Big E said, I can't remember what it was. It was at the beginning of the speech. And Big E said something about he has one.
Yeah. They said the Freebirds taught them a lot of things, to be cool,
right.
And to be stylish, to be as a unit, and we are one unit.
Yes.
And Big E's like, wait, we share a unit, and it was just hilarious. It was funny.
Yeah.
And,
Again, I was on the way home. I had it on my Bluetooth so I could listen to it at least. But
yeah, it was pretty funny. So you should definitely watch the New Day part. It was great. And then they introduced the Freebirds. The Freebirds were dancing. It was Jimmy Garvin and Michael.
Wouldn't know it.
yeah, he looks very different. And Michael P.S. Hayes. And I was a little nervous for Jimmy Garvin because he was panting and sweating. And I'm just like, man. He's like, I haven't danced like that in 25 years. I'm like,
I was worried.
You know what bothered me? They got through the speech and eventually they caught their breath and everything. Why the hell didn't anybody bring him water?
I tweeted that he needed water in a chair really badly.
Yeah, at least like water. Like Jesus, like I'm just watching this. Like, what the hell are you guys doing, man? Bring him some water. But caught his breath. He did not die on the stage, which was a good thing. And yeah, Michael Hayes kind of just said thanks everybody, and then they went. And then Jimmy was like, "Wait, what are you doing? We got a speech." And he's like, "Oh, well, we have an office pool and an over and under of how long we were gonna go. I took the under, so I want to win some money." And Jimmy's like, well, I took the over. And he goes, well, all right, let's compromise. So then Jimmy gave out some dates. Like he gave it a date of, that was like 55 years ago, or 50 years ago. He was put in a ring by Chief Jay Strongbow when he was 9 years old. And he fell in love with wrestling.
Yes.
I don't remember the second number he gave, but it was like however many years ago, I was partying with Michael Hayes and we shared some moonshine and I became a free bird. And then 32 years ago,
hanging out with Jack. Yes.
Yeah, and then 32, his friend Jack. And then 32 years ago, it was WrestleMania, and WrestleMania 32 is going to kick ass, and yada yada. So, yeah, they kept going back and forth. They told a few stories which were pretty hilarious, and including one where they destroyed this apartment that they had in day one. That was a great story where Terry Gordy, they couldn't find the keys, so a drunk Terry Gordy destroyed the doorknob. And actually destroyed the door and said, "Yeah, we don't need a lock now." And that
Percy Pringle threw a chair in the pool, and yeah.
Oh, that was on fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Percy Pringle, Paul Bear. I mean, there was a bunch of stories.
I like the story about the bar when they got into the fight.
Oh, they got into a bar
leg.
They got into a bar fight with a gang, including a guy that had a wooden leg, and he went to pull out a gun. So P.S. Hayes and Terry Gordy ran out. And thanks to the wooden leg, the guy with the wooden leg, because he had the wooden leg, he couldn't catch him, and he shot at them and he missed, but he almost killed him. And Terry Gordy was laughing, and Michael asked, and Hayes is like, well, why are you laughing? And Terry goes, they missed. And that was great. Then they had who they bring? They brought Ray Gordy out,
which if you don't know is Jesse from Jesse and Festus,
or Slam Master J.
I don't want to remember him as that, so it's Jesse from Jesse and Festus.
Jesse and Festus. Yeah, he looks very different. Maybe it's just like he doesn't have the long hair anymore.
Yeah, I didn't even recognize him at first.
He's probably not on some of the stuff he used to be on either. I would guess. I don't think he's as active as he used to be. But he had a nice little speech talking about his dad and the Freebirds, and they had Buddy Roberts' son. I don't remember his name. It might have been Buddy Roberts.
Buddy Roberts.
Yeah. Was it Buddy Roberts?
Buddy
okay.
Roberts Jr.
Yeah, and he had a nice little speech. And then they kept going and going and going. And it was fun. It was entertaining throughout the whole time. And then they brought out Kevin Von Erich. And I got to say this, Kevin Von Erich had a great speech, put over his brothers, and by the way, the Freebirds put over a lot of guys from World Class. And it was a very classy speech. And Kevin Von Erich, talked about how, some people say he's unlucky, but he felt like he was lucky that he got to spend all this time with his brothers and with the Freebirds, and very emotional. But he did have one faux pas. He did have one snafu, and it could just be his thick Southern accent.
He had that, the way he talks, it kind of like I can't even.
He talks like this a little bit. It's
like this, out of the side of his mouth.
Yeah. So and I hope he's doing all right. I mean, I saw him. We saw him a couple years ago on that TNA Slammiversary show, and he looked all right. But he seemed
good,
really
yeah.
skinny. He seemed really skinny. I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit. He actually mentioned his two sons who were there, who were at the TNA show as well.
It's crazy. I mean, I know they were green, and they might still be green. I haven't really heard of them like really wrestling lately.
No.
But man, like how did TNA not keep them? I mean, those guys got a pretty good reaction just from being Von Erich boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Maybe they just didn't want to. Maybe they didn't get paid. Who knows? But yeah, that was a missed opportunity there. But anyway, he said he talked about the Freebirds, and then he referred to the New Day. What it sounded like he said, I kid you not, and you can check Twitter because a lot of people heard this. It's not like he said, the Freebirds, the new gay boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, or the new gay guys. Yeah, he said the new gay guys.
But you could hear the crowd kind of moaning a little bit at that. Like
it was just like, oh crap! I was like, oh crap! Like, did he really say that? Like, did he really say new gay boys? Which is pretty funny. I mean, I don't know if he did. It's
Southern boy with three guys coming out with unicorns and bright colors. I mean,
Yeah, hey.
Hey, maybe.
Hey, whatever, man. It's 2016. It's all good. I'm sure.
I agree.
And they're very happy people. So. Yeah, but that's what it sounded like. So that was kind of an unintentionally funny moment. And other than that, it was pretty good. And afterwards, at the end, they finally wrapped it up after a while. And again, it was entertaining throughout. It just went very long. Michael Hayes thanked his ex-wives. He dedicated the induction to his dog that passed away a couple years ago. And as a pet owner, I can understand how being close to the pet can affect you, especially when you lose him or her. And then he put over to McMahon family. And then sang Bad Street USA. Well, kind of lip synced it. Yeah.
Although Michael Hayes must have just rolled out of bed and missed his alarm clock, because if you didn't see it, and Fred didn't mention this, but I will. Jimmy Garvin came out in the nice tuxedo, looking good, looking a little different, obviously older, doesn't have the hair and all, but Michael Hayes was wearing a fanny pack.
I did see. Oh yeah,
jeans,
that's right.
A Bad Street USA T-shirt. And I think he had the robe on, if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken.
He had some type of contraption.
And not only I understand he's kind of maybe going with the whole Bad Street gimmick and all that, but he's an employee of WWE as well.
They don't care. I mean, I guess.
Oh, and that was a funny thing Jimmy Garvin said. That something like if they mention some things they're not supposed to, he looked at Michael Hayes and said, "What are they going to do? Fire you?" So that was kind of funny too.
Man, it was a very memorable speech. And then we had, I think, who do we have? Did we have the Warrior Award afterwards?
No, I believe
Big Boss Man.
It was the Boss Man, which was a good speech.
Yeah, really nice speech from Slick, who used to be his manager.
Yes.
And then he introduced Boss Man's wife and two daughters. And it was just a really nice speech. Just talk about how great of a guy he was, and you really got the feeling watching the speech, and I recommend everybody go out of their way to see it. You really got the feeling that the guy loved what he did, even when he had to do some weird, wacky things like feed Al Snow his own dog, Pepper, in kayfabe. And by the way, they did reference Pepper and say he's okay. So it's good to know that after all these years, Pepper is alive and well.
Riding on the Big Show's dad's coffin.
Yeah, they talk about riding Big Show's dad. It's what's so funny about the Attitude Era and how popular wrestling was back then. Even the bad stuff, as bad as it was.
It's so memorable.
It was I mean, the Big Show Big Boss Man feud culminated in like a 3-minute match at Armageddon 1999. It was horrible. Yet the feud is so memorable because he freaking had Big Show surf on his dad's casket. I mean,
that and the fact that he came to the Big Show's house and his mom said that Big Show was a bastard child, and yeah.
Yeah, it was something. God bless the Big Boss Man, and yeah, they really put him over, and I got a little teary-eyed because you could feel for the wife and the kids. I mean, they wish he was here, but they kept it together, and they made a really nice speech for him, and and I'm sure he'd be proud. It was a really really nice moment for him. So I'm glad Boss Man got it.
One daughter mentioned the story about they were going, I guess, to Madison Square Garden for the show, and he turns to his daughter and says, honey, Daddy has to do some things for the business, and that night it was the Rikishi stink face. So,
yeah, they said they got scarred for life after that.
Well, there was one daughter I don't think spoke. I think they cut the speech before she got to.
I don't know if she's, or I think she was like she carried the notes for him, or some type of deal. But yeah, it was a really really nice speech, and
very nice, yes.
And then we had Dana Warrior, and God bless her.
No.
We didn't.
Oh no!
Oh, we had the Legacy. Was it the Legacy presentation?
They had the Legacy, which was interesting that they did this year.
They
did that before the Boss Man.
Yeah, they presented like a bunch of like old school wrestlers. It's like with they just kind of honored a few old school wrestlers
Very
like
old school
yeah,
wrestlers.
like Pat O'Connor and who they honored besides Pat
Luthez,
O'Connor. Did they honor Luthez?
Luthez. Yeah, there was a fat
Mildred
lady in
Burke,
there. Yep.
Mildred Burke. A couple other guys, but that was very nice.
But to be honest,
thing.
then it was the celebrity part of the induction, which
Yeah.
might have actually been one of the best speeches in a long time.
Oh yeah, it was Snoop Dogg, and
Snoop.
It was great. John
had a surprise inductor, yeah.
Yeah, John Cena inducted him, and John Cena looked significantly smaller, which is understandable when you have a bunch of injuries, a torn rotator cuff and all this. Usually he comes back the same size, but I'm actually kind of pleasantly surprised that he's allegedly, at least he claims, medically cleared. And I'm pleasantly surprised he's actually a bit smaller because, putting all that weight on, all that muscle at that age, it looks good, but it's not the healthiest thing in the world, especially if you're a wrestler and you're bumping around and you kind of want to do this at least for a few more years. But yeah, he talked about Snoop Dogg and how Snoop Dogg embraced him when he could have dissed him and let him record in a studio, and they made music, and it was pretty cool. I don't think we ever heard a Snoop Dogg John Cena collaboration though, to the best of my knowledge.
Well, I would have to go back to John Cena's rap album and take a look. Maybe his name is on it or something as a
maybe as like a producer. Yeah, it would have been cool to see Snoop Dogg and John Cena actually kind of rap together because John Cena is prime. I'll say this. Was a pretty underrated. I think it was a pretty underrated rapper, and even now I'm sure he could spit a few bars. But
his CD release party was at the Best Buy right across the street from my parents' house.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
They did a house. No, I did not. They did a Monday night house show there at Newark, and it was at the Best Buy. I did not go.
You did not go? Come on, man. You can have John Cena a trademark.
At the time, I was like, who the,
Yeah, who's this John Cena guy? What's
real quick though, I think WWE had the Eva Marie thought again in their head when they brought out John Cena that the whole place was going to go nuts, and it was kind of the same old.
Well, honestly, I think WWE kind of knew what they were doing with Eva Marie. I think they just kind of wanted to fit the Total Divas theme, and they knew she'd get booed. And
there isn't Summer Rae on Total Divas, so I'm a little confused.
She was. She hasn't been.
Anymore.
She's not anymore. They put Mandy in there, who's very beautiful and very likable, but she's not. I wouldn't say the most entertaining cast member. And honestly, Rosa Mendez, I kind of don't really care for. I'm happy she had her kid and everything, but I just don't. I don't care for her. She's just bored. Yeah, you mean like she hasn't won a match ever in WWE. She's can't wrestle after all these years. She's somehow magically still employed. It's like, yeah, I don't want to get into a Total Divas rant, but there's a reason this season is dying a miserable death. So hopefully they'll bring back Naomi. There's apparently rumors that they're bringing back Lana, or they're bringing in Lana, I should say, and Renee Young. I think SquaredCircleSirens.com had a story on that. Because I think one of their guys is at WrestleMania. But yeah, if they bring in Lana and Renee Young, that means we'll get some Rusev and Dean Ambrose on Total Divas, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Dean Ambrose residency.
Would they go with Dean Ambrose? You think they would actually do that?
Well, he was on Total Divas a couple weeks ago when Daniel Bryan wanted to go on like his spiritual cleanse, and they played this weird horn, and Dean Ambrose was just cracking up. It was pretty fun. Dean seems like a fun guy to be around.
I can honestly say I don't watch Total Divas.
Well, you're lame like that, so you got to get on that. When the episodes are on the network, more of them, just go and binge watch.
Well, real quick, our good friend Sky mentioned that she was impressed with my knowledge of knowing the inductors into the Hall of Fame, the inductees, the order of them, and I told her it's because I have no life. And now that you're saying that you watch Total Divas like that, it kind of
I watch on DVR. Listen, I watch it on DVR. I skip around the boring parts, and I kind of just keep up with what's going on. That's all. That's all.
I could say that you're single and I'm married, so I understand, but I guess that might work in the opposite way as well. So
anyway,
moving on.
Anyway, we had Snoop Dogg came out. He put over the fans, put over WWE. It was a really nice speech. Shocker.
Put over his cousin.
Yeah, Sasha Banks. Shocker. Snoop Dogg, who's one of the greatest ever in rap and is a great entertainer, is well spoken. I know that's a shocker to people. He's awesome. I've always been a Snoop Dogg fan, and he did a great job, and really put over Sasha Banks. Talked about how he took her to WrestleMania 24 in Orlando in 2008, and he took pride in how happy she was, and he saw that she wanted this, and he's so proud of her that she's in front of the AT&T Stadium where WrestleMania takes place, and it was just very nice. Put over John Cena, and Yeah, just a really nice speech, and he had a rap as well, which I'm not going to repeat because I can't do it justice. Also, I don't remember it.
Off his phone.
Yeah, well, look, man.
He's a freestyle rapper. Come on, he's not freestyling anymore. But come on, man.
Well, listen, man. Listen, man. He probably put it on short note. Listen, as somebody that's a writer who has written many forms of poetry in my years, I actually used to write poetry, and I'm actually very good at rhyming, or at least that's what my grandma tells me, and some past ex-girlfriends. Okay, sometimes when you write, it just has to come to you. Okay, and people can say, well, if you have to write your rhymes, that's you're not a real rapper, you're not a real this or that. But look, it's hard to write sometimes. It is hard to write, and I'm not saying I have the gift of Snoop Dogg, but I'm just saying as somebody that's written a lot and written a lot of poetry and all this other stuff. Sometimes it just kind of comes to you, and you just and sometimes when it's impressive just to be able to write this stuff and kind of come up with it in your head, and it was pretty good.
It was good.
And by the way,
to, like, John Cena and Snoop kind of hanging out there in the smoke lounge, we'll say.
Oh yeah, he talked about that. Yeah, he also hinted that he did that with Randy Orton. Oh, by the way, I just heard thunder. So you were talking to me about how
off air, yes.
Yeah, off air we're getting some bad weather. Well, it looks like I'm getting thunder. So hopefully I don't lose power right now. We don't lose this feed because I do want to answer some comments and questions.
If you're able to get on Facebook, Fred, you can check my video I posted of what happened here. So you'll see.
Yeah. But anyway, so what I'm trying to say is that it's a skill in itself to be able to write music in the first place, or write rhymes or anything. Whether it's at the lowest level of poetry like myself, or like at the highest level like Mr. Snoop Doggy Dogg. I'm just saying, writing is a very underrated skill. That's all.
No, it absolutely is.
That is all I'm saying. And by the way, Michael Hayes in his speech put over the writers and said, I'm going to get heat for this, but everybody works really hard, and I don't doubt that they don't work hard. I just think that you don't need 30 writers, and I'm sure, honestly, I'm sure deep down inside Michael Hayes would probably agree with that too. But it is what it is.
What he said, and he's right, is that they bust their butt to try to put on the most, basically the most entertaining show for us, which he's not wrong about. Mm-hmm. The problem is most of the good stuff probably gets vetoed from up above, and that's why we don't see it.
Yeah, that is true. Then we had the Warrior Award, which I had mixed feelings about because on one hand, I think Joan London is incredibly inspirational, and anybody that's battling cancer right now is, or has battled it is a warrior in my book. At the same time, it's just the fact that they twisted Warrior's words around. I mean, look, if you want to do the Warrior speech or the Warrior Award in honor of Ultimate Warrior, that's fine. I just feel like it's weird when they say, like, this is what he meant, when, like, in his Hall of Fame speech, he specifically meant honoring people backstage.
Yeah,
don't get recognition. So that's the only thing that kind of bothered me with that. Also, I know some people had, problems with, like, not necessarily Joan London, which actually was that fact that he actually called this a sport, and he said this is the best sports. And, okay, I think I'm back on now. Okay. I think that's the thunder that's going on, so hopefully I'm back on. Yes, for those that don't know, I reside in New Jersey, and Scott resides in Delaware, and we're having some really, really bad weather right now. And even though it was just like 70 degrees a few days ago, looks like that we're going to have snow soon and high winds, which we're currently having now as I look out my window. So hopefully you guys can still hear me. If not, this will be uploaded after the fact anyway. Let me call Scott and get him on here. And now it's saying there's a problem with my internet connection. That's not good. Okay. Well, Scott, are you there?
I am here, Fred. I thought you lost power.
I thought I did too, but I didn't lose power. I think my internet was just kind of affected. Yeah, that's weird. It's really weird. Well, hopefully people can still hear me. I mean, I'm connected to you, so obviously I'm still on the internet. But
there you go.
Anyway, I just mentioned that Joan London's speech was nice, and even though some people had problems with Susan G. Komen, rightfully so, she didn't really mention them. She kind of just talked about her own journey.
Her own thing, yep.
Yeah, and just it was a nice speech. Dana Warrior, God bless her, God rest her husband's soul. I think she went a little too long, and I felt like it was a little too much about Ultimate Warrior, and she kind of should have. Honestly, I kind of wish like Joan London had somebody induct her that actually kind of knew her. You know what I mean?
Well, it was a little bit too long with the speech, and it was a little too much of praise of WWE as well.
Yeah, it was kind of, you know what I mean? It was just like, what, like, okay, like, what, we feel bad, you lost your husband, it's a terrible, tragedy, and, God bless you and everything, but, it's like, I don't know. Like I just felt like it's like, no offense, it is called the Warrior Award, but it's really not about you tonight. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I think
it was a little long-winded. I mean, if
yeah.
she does this every year, it's going to get kind of old, unfortunately, and I think crowds are going to turn on her, and I hate
I
to say
kind of hope
that.
she doesn't do it anymore. I mean, it's like I understand like she's the Warrior's wife and everything, but I just kind of hope they just have. And also too, like cancer's a serious deal. Somebody in my family right now is going through it, and obviously it sucks. But I'm not saying Joan London didn't deserve the award, but I do kind of hope that they kind of mix it up like in the years to come. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
don't just make it the cancer award, which again anybody that's fighting cancer, I mean, deserves recognition for being a warrior. But I mean, like again, Ultimate Warrior, what was his original intention for like a special type of award?
It was
To
the
give it to
timekeeper who you don't hear from, or the seamstress.
exactly,
In the
and
back.
if not, and if you're not gonna give it to a staff member, at least like pick some. What would be nice if they picked somebody from like the WWE fan base that's going through a rough time, or maybe did something charitable or something that's under the radar. Like that to me would be kind of cool to do. I mean, it's the warrior spirit. You know what I mean? And it
Well,
could
that
be
was
somebody
kind
that
of like what they did last year.
yeah, with Con. Well, now a
Right.
lot of people know Connor, and he's the face of Connor's Cure. But but yeah, like kind of like that. You know what I mean? Which granted, it would still be somebody going through like an illness or whatever. But it could be anything. You know what I mean? It could be the boy that
Sure.
God forbid, had a tragedy and ended up doing something for his community. It could be I'm trying to think of like an athlete. You know what I mean? That did like some cool. I don't know.
Well,
Think of like an athlete that's under the radar that's doing
I mean,
some
you don't
things for
want to make
charity.
it like
Yeah.
a Make-A-Wish type of thing, and I understand what you're saying, but you want to make it. The award isn't supposed to be mainstream, and that's what they made it this year. And I think that's kind of what the issue is, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I think so, and I don't necessarily mind mainstream. I think you just don't want to do it. You don't want it to become that every year. You know what I mean? Like for
Sure.
example, for example, let's just say like you. Oh man, I'm trying to think of. I can't think of a good example off the top of my head. I know some. I it's blanking out. Let's just use an example. Okay, you're a big WWE fan. Let's say, God forbid, like something happens in your town. It's like devastated or something. You raise money for your town or whatever
Right.
like that, and you happen to be a WWE fan. Like something like that, I think would be kind of cool to like give a Warrior Award to. You know what I mean? Like show recognition to
Well,
somebody.
yeah,
You know
I
what I mean?
mean, they could.
Like a good. How about this? Make it a good
Yeah.
Samuraitan award. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense? Like in a way, like kind of make it like a good Samuraitan award. You know?
Yeah, it would be interesting. I mean, because then you'd have a lot of stories that are told but aren't mentioned in the award. It could get a little dicey, but yeah, I mean, hopefully they do kind of like with the Warrior. If you have the semi driver who's been driving for WWE for 20 years, give him a little recognition. Do something like
Absolutely.
that.
Or
That's
you know
the
what? You
Warrior
could have the
wanted.
Or you know what? You could have the Warrior Award, and then you could have the Jimmy Miranda Award, which is what Warrior suggested in the first place. So you could still
That
do
is
like.
true.
So you know what? You could still have both. You know what I mean? You could still have both. And actually, what would be really cool with the Warrior Award is, like like how they do like with some of these shows, like they used to do with Extreme Makeover and a few other shows, like how they used to say, like if there's somebody in your life that that needs help, like send us a
Yes.
video and whatever. Why not do that? You know what I mean? That'd be nice, and just kind of that way, fans can vote and check out like what people are going through and everything else, and they could be it could be voted by the fans. I mean, I think this thing could be something nice. Like, I mean, this is a nice gesture that they give it to Joan London, and God bless her and everything. But yeah, it would be nice to not only have a Jimmy Miranda Award to recognize people that are unsung heroes in WWE, but it would be nice if they could make the Ultimate Warrior Award more of like for everyday people, good Samuraitans, people like that, and occasionally some celebrities as well. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That's what I'd like to see. So that's all. That's all. A little more authentic, a little less like, oh, let's get press for this. You know what I mean? You got the celebrity wing for the press.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they're in the entertainment business. It's public relations, and we don't have to necessarily like it. It's just it is what it is sometimes.
That's it.
And then we had Sting, and as we mentioned before, Ric Flair went on and on. Then Sting did his speech, talked about finding God in 1998 and turning his life around. And what I got into this is, Sting is really appreciative of pro wrestling, and I know I've been told by a few guys that knew Sting and worked with him here and there that, maybe he didn't necessarily. And I think he loves wrestling, but a couple guys were always like telling me like he doesn't necessarily love wrestling. He enjoys it, but he really loves the fans, and he talked about it. He really didn't know what pro wrestling was until his early 20s and kind of got into it. And he seems like what I respect about Sting is that I do think he did love the business and everything, and obviously he loves the fans. But I like the fact that over the course of his career, and especially after he found God and everything else, he kind of like he looked at it as a business. You know what I mean? And if you watch the Sting documentaries, excuse me. if you watch the Sting documentary they actually just uploaded on the network, you get the feeling he was really good with his money, which is something you have to be in this business, especially when you get to the top like him. And he never lost sight of being a family man. And I know, everybody, a lot of guys say that, and, they're different people behind the scenes. But from talking to people that know him personally, and then you watch that documentary and, just listening to other people talk about him, his peers, right? You get the feeling that this guy is a genuinely good dude and that he, during even the WCW days when he was on the road a lot, always made time for his family. And he knew he had leverage and was able to do that. And, he made a lot of money. He entertained a lot of fans like myself. He was, one of my heroes, as a kid. And, he stayed true to himself. And, he's an inspirational guy. And there's something to be said for a guy that, doesn't end up addicted or broken down or whatever. I mean, Sting is one of those guys that just did his thing. He went through a rough patch like a lot of guys do with the long career in the business on top, but got through it. And here he is, WWE Hall of Famer. Yeah, he suffered that, career-ending injury against Seth Rollins, and it sucks, but...
Which he had a good story about, too, in the back when they're loading him onto the ambulance. When he was talking about Seth came up to him and basically, again, I didn't write it down word for word, but, was saying how bad he, he felt and this and that.
And then Sting said, and then, Seth said to Sting, what did he say? He said, I was you for Halloween.
Yeah, that's right, and that's when, So...
It was pretty cool. It was just, I always liked Sting. It's just like he always came off as like a good guy and like a likable guy that has like perspective in life and everything, and kind of just, I don't know, just something about him. Like, I mean, maybe younger fans can't understand this, but because we grew up watching him, and I don't know if you feel the same way. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like even in TNA when he had some of those crappy storylines and stuff, and a lot of the stuff he was involved in, I don't think it was really his fault. It kind of sucked. I mean, he was in some good feuds too, but there was a lot of crap in TNA. But even then, it was always like, it's just cool to see him, cool to see him around. I remember when I went.
Still Sting, yeah.
Yeah, it's like.
And it was a guy who was past his prime, but yet he was still Sting.
He was into it, you know what I mean? And I remember I saw him twice. I had the privilege of seeing him twice live. I saw him at Bound for Glory 2011 in October 2011. And in Philadelphia. I don't know if you were at that show or not, but
no.
I was there. I was actually an intern for Spike TV at the time, and I got comped. It was like a last minute thing, so I was like, holy crap, okay, I'll go, I'll have fun. And I watched him and Hulk Hogan tear the house down at their advanced age, and it was just awesome. He won via Scorpion Deathlock. He got beat up by
Scorpion Deathlock.
But he, hey,
because Hogan couldn't take the move, so Sting was basically standing up.
Yeah, but it was, it was a good match for what it was, and they got the crowd involved, and it was amazing. And then he got beat up by the heels, who was Hulk Hogan's stable at the time, and he looks at Hulk, and he goes, Hulk, help me! And Hulk tore up his shirt, beat everybody, and him and Sting left together, and it was just, you know what I mean? It was TNA, it was wacky, it kind of didn't make sense, but it was just like, man, what a moment here. Like, here I am seeing a Hogan versus Sting in 2011. I couldn't believe it. And then, in an even rarer case, in 2012, I got press passes covering a TNA house show. They did a base brawl, but they do a yearly show at a baseball stadium. It was in Brooklyn in July, I believe July of 2012. And one of the main events, believe it or not, was Sting on a house show against Bully Ray, Bubba Ray Dudley. And Sting came out, and I saw him backstage before. I didn't get a chance to interview him. I interviewed a couple other guys, but when I saw him, I was like, oh my God, that's Sting. And I don't get like that at all with like any wrestlers, like at all. Like I think, I really don't like get geeked out or anything. And I wasn't like geeked out, but it was just like kind of had to catch my breath. I'm like, that Sting just walked by me. Holy crap. And yeah, Sting was awesome. He came out, got on the mic, said, let's make this a street fight. He was all into it, brawled through the crowd. It was like a fun little house show match. I think he had, I don't know if he had like a cheese grater or something, but he had like something that he attacked Bubba Ray Dudley's groin with, and Bubba Ray throughout the match was saying, my balls. It was just fun. You know what I mean? And like, for younger fans having gotten to experience Sting live, and granted I experienced him at his advanced stage live, it's just awesome. He just has that it factor. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he wasn't the best worker in the world. You could debate his drawing power, this and that, but man, some guys just have it and can captivate a crowd, and that's Sting, man. There really is. I got nothing. I mean, maybe I'm the wrong guy to be critical of Sting, but I don't have a lot bad to say about him. He was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up, and
absolutely,
it was cool to see him do his thing. And I'll tell you this, man. watching it, going to WBMSG a couple weeks ago, even though it wasn't like the best show from an in-ring standpoint, it was just a lot of fun. Watching NXT, which was great, and we could just briefly talk about it a little bit, and then watching this Hall of Fame, and especially watching Sting and honoring his career. It really reminds me of I love pro wrestling. You know what I mean? It can suck sometimes, and there's a lot of crap, and we could obviously I'd like to see the business do better, and there's a lot of scumbags in the business sometimes, but when you see stuff like Nakamura and Sami Zayn have a work of art in the form of pro wrestling, when you see guys busting their ass and fans having a good time at like MSG, and then you get to the Hall of Fame and you celebrate guys like Sting, and just kind of look back in their careers and the memories, because you grew up watching these guys. It just this weekend's like this kind of like season's a nice reminder I think while we all love wrestling.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, my Sting quick story is that I was there the night in WCW when he finally talked for the first time in like 2 years.
Oh wow, the one where he went
Philly.
up and when he said to JJ Dillon, "You have no guts."
No, not that. I'm sorry. It was the one he talked at length, to quote Tony Schiavone. It was him and Macho Man, I guess it was, in a tag match versus Hogan and Hall, maybe. It was the debut of Brutus Beefcake's NWO character.
Oh God, the Disciple.
The Disciple, yeah. But he said Macho Man came out with Liz, and he gets in the ring, macho, brother. And everybody in the crowd just goes nuts because, yes, he did have that quick line on that Thunder episode, but this was just amazing. And before that, I think it was the night, I forget the main event, but he came out and handed the baseball bats to DDP and Luger and the Giant.
Oh, you were there for that?
I was there for that as well.
Oh,
and
man.
We're up in the crowd with my camera. At the time I had the old 35 millimeter with the big lens, and we're looking up in the roof, the rafters, and we're like, oh, there he is. And meanwhile, he walks down. So yeah, I never got to meet him, but yeah, I mean, he was actually near us last year at Philadelphia for the Wizard World Comic Con.
Oh, cool.
And I wanted to go to that so bad, but I just, for the prices they charge, you just can't do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, by far, I grew up, I'm a little older than you, and I had Hogan and those guys a little bit more, but Sting was always that guy, And again, back when he first came out, he was the cool, beach blonde surfer guy, and it was just awesome. And, it's a shame his WWE run was so short, but it was still great to see it,
Yeah, no, absolutely. We got to witness him for, a long time, and it's just cool to see like a guy like that, doing well and everything. So yeah, thumbs up for the Hall of Fame. A couple weeks ago, I don't know if I talked about it at all on air, but a couple weeks ago I went to the MSG show. Actually, not even a couple weeks ago. It was about was it a week ago? I think it was actually a little over a week ago. Went to WBMSG. That was actually a lot of fun. Went with my dad. Went with my buddy Eugene. I wish you could go. I asked you to go. I was kind of.
I know.
Well, soon. You know what? There's another MSG show coming up in June. We'll finally get you to MSG eventually. But it was fun. It was kind of cool. I mean, just a few notes. Ziggler and Miz had a hell of a match. And sometimes you forget how underrated Miz is and how good Ziggler is because he's been beaten so many times and. He has some really bad jokes in his promos, but he was he was working his ass off, as was the Miz. Ziggler got the win. New Day was great. They ended up winning a match, a three-way tag with Team 3D, the Dudley Boys, and I think it was the Usos. And all throughout the match, they were dancing, they were having fun. Xavier Woods got what we used to call in school 5-starred on his back. He got bitch slapped right on his back multiple times by the Dudleys, the Usos. And then accidentally by Big E, and he sold it for like 5 minutes straight. It was great. And then on the outside, Kofi was massaging him, and New Day was so funny. They were
AJ Styles debut, right?
AJ Styles has his MSG debut against Kevin Owens. Those guys had their working shoes on, and crazy note, Kevin Owens actually won the match clean via pop-up powerbomb. But but AJ got protected.
I told you. Back in January, AJ was going to become kind of just another guy.
Well, he's not just another guy.
I know it's house shows, but he's just another guy.
No, you know what he is? He's you know what he is? He's kind of like he's at that Kevin Owens level where he's a guy that could do more and should be a main eventer.
And Kevin Owens right now is just another guy.
No. Kevin Owens is a little bit Kevin Owens is a little bit above just the guy because he's so good. But yeah, if he wasn't Kevin Owens and didn't have Kevin Owens talent, he would be just another guy. Same thing.
Enough.
Yeah. Now, I'm kind of worried because Chris Jericho's sticking around after WrestleMania, and AJ Styles is wrestling Chris Jericho. And, Roman Reigns is going to need an opponent if he does stay babyface and win the title. I'm not saying they can't give him Ryback, who could win the U.S. title, which I think is actually would be a mistake. But
I have a question about that as well.
Yeah, well, anyway, it was a really good match between AJ and Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens went clean, and then Kevin Owens bragged about beating AJ. AJ took him out and cut a nice little promo. Just said, MSG, you're everything I thought you'd be, and you guys are phenomenal, and it was really nice. The crowd really respected AJ, and it's funny. All these years they say, "Oh, these TNA guys, nobody knows who they are." Well, and granted, he had a couple years in New Japan where he became a huge star, but safe to say people recognize AJ's talent, and
Ring of Honor, yeah.
It's not, and another guy, AJ Styles. Nice to see a guy like him get his due, and
absolutely.
We had Kalisto take on Rusev. That was a fun little match. Kalisto retained the title, and I was shocked. Let me tell you. I know people like doing the lucha chants, even though I think it's kind of dumb. But the crowd really reacted big to Kalisto. And I know Vince McMahon used to hold New York in high regard in terms of crowd reactions. So I'm hoping that Vince McMahon says, "God damn, why the hell are we going to beat Kalisto?" Especially when they're trying to attract Hispanic fans, and the guy is so talented. I mean, nothing against Ryback. I like Ryback, and I think he's an underrated worker, and I really like his social media game. He's pretty funny on Instagram and everything, but I mean, come on, at this stage of the game, who's got more upside? I mean, Kalisto for sure.
Well, here's a question. Ryback apparently on the Hall of Fame red carpet said him and Kalisto were going to open the WrestleMania 32 pay-per-view.
Well, backstage, WWE considers the people in power.
The 5:30 match, the first match. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah, and you know what? Lance Storm has said this before, and Lance Storm never unfortunately got to work on an official WrestleMania card. But he's said this before, and he's a guy I respect and I've had on the show before. At the end of the day, even if the boys aren't necessarily on the official WrestleMania main card, which I'm sure must
still
suck.
80,000 people.
You're still working in front of the biggest crowd of the year.
Sure.
By far. Now, what I'm interested in seeing is the guys' paychecks. You know what I mean? Like now I don't know what the pay structure is, how different it is now that WrestleMania, is on the network and everything. I would imagine some guys' wallets are a lot thinner. You know what I mean? I mean, unless you're John Cena, who probably has in his contract that, they still have to compensate him accordingly. But, for a guy like Ryback or Kalisto, yeah, you're technically part of WrestleMania. You're on the pre-show or you're on USA Network or whatever you're on, but your wallet might be smaller. We'll see.
Hey, I have a quick trivia question for anybody, and hopefully nobody's cheating. You ready for this?
Yeah.
And it's going to take a minute to get all this over, but... Oops, sorry. I don't know what that is there. All right. So what does Fandango, Jack Swagger, R-Truth, Goldust, Damian Sandow, Darren Young, The Social Outcast, Tyler Breeze, The Ascension, Kane, and Big Show have in common?
They're all in the Battle Royal?
That's the poster for the Battle Royal.
Oh, man. Well, the Battle Royal got moved back to the
main show.
Yeah, the main show. So I know Wrestling Observer reported that Cesaro may be ready to go. I know he's going to be ready to go for the European tour, but he may be a surprise.
Could they possibly put John Cena in that?
I'd say yes, but the thing is, it would be anticlimactic. Just because of the fact that you're in the Battle Royal you're in that match the whole time with all those guys, whereas like in the Royal Rumble, you can make it like, number 30 and it's John Cena.
Yeah, but they could do it, and it would at least give some meaning to that match.
No, that is true.
No offense to Cesaro and Big Show, but
no, yeah, and you're right. No, you're right. I think it would, and if John Cena won, it would kind of give it some credibility, and then the next year, it could mean something. It would be really nice if they gave it to a young guy that's not named Braun Strowman. I don't know who,
could
though.
They give it to Bray Wyatt? Because that's only 15 names I mentioned, and it's supposed to only be 20 this year.
Well, you know what? I think maybe the Wyatts might try to interfere in one of the matches because it's weird that they're not involved on the main show. I know Bray has kind of been having some hard times, with injuries and getting jobbed in here and there, but. If you notice that Roadblock, they didn't have him lose, and I know he was hurt, but still, very interesting. The plan was for a while Bray Wyatt, Brock Lesnar. So I'm wondering, do they have maybe Bray interfere against Brock Lesnar, and that between that and like all the weapons, it allows Dean Ambrose to get the win? Or maybe he interferes against. I mean, I guess he could interfere against the Undertaker, but they already kind of like finished that feud.
Now, could we see somebody like?
Or oh God, what if Bray
Samoa
interfered against
Joe
Roman?
Win the Battle Royal?
I wish, but I don't think so. Although since he lost to Finn Balor, maybe we'll see him on Raw.
Were you gonna say could we see Bray Wyatt interfere in the Roman Reigns Triple H match?
Well, that feud's never gonna end because even as recently as a couple months ago, Bray Wyatt said anyone but you, Roman.
Yeah, but he also has been teasing a feud with Triple H.
Yeah, he kind of had the little stare down. They had some interaction at the Royal Rumble.
Here's the way I do it. If I'm booking that, I have The Rock come out and cost Roman the match by mistake, and then have Roman just destroy The Rock, going full-fledged heel. Triple H can go on to, the next pay-per-view. Payback, and wrestle Bray Wyatt or Roman again. Heel Roman can win. You could set up maybe The Rock versus Roman at SummerSlam, which you could possibly do depending on The Rock's schedule. There's some possibility there.
No, that is true. No, you're right about that, and I do have some WrestleMania scenarios of my own, but yeah, gonna be really interesting. As far as any other MSG notes, just trying to think off the top of my head, the Triple H match, he teamed with Sheamus against Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. Nice little match. The babyfaces got the win. I have to say, even though I am kind of sick of seeing Triple H on TV every single week, the Authority deal, it was pretty. I gotta say, it was pretty cool to see him wrestle again. I've seen him wrestle a bunch of times, but you kind of forget sometimes how much of a legend he is and how great of a worker he is. Yeah, because he's on TV every week, and honestly, I think that's to his detriment. You know what I mean? If he had the Authority and he kind of had him still doing heelish things, but not on TV every week, I think they might be a little bit more tolerable. Although I think any Authority.
It's the Brock Lesnar syndrome, right? I mean,
yeah. The more they're on TV, the more they're on TV, the less special they are. But yeah, Triple H is still a great worker, and Roman and Sheamus got crapped on completely. Yeah, Roman, to be fair, got one of the biggest reactions of the night. It was a mixed reaction. It was a big one, though, so I'm thinking when he does turn heel, he may actually start getting some cheers. I think there's definitely hope with Roman, but I do think he definitely needs to turn heel, and I think in the meantime, they really do got to roll with Ambrose, and if they want a new top babyface. But, if John Cena really is going to come back, which is insane, when he was supposed to be out till June or July, yeah, I guess you could do, John Cena temporarily, and maybe maybe they do a deal where Roman Reigns loses after Rock tries to help him. He takes out The Rock. That sets up next year's WrestleMania, and in the meantime, John Cena wins the title somehow, and you do John Cena versus Roman Reigns down the road. You know what I mean? At SummerSlam, where Roman kind of destroys him, and then maybe the next month you do Roman versus Seth. When Seth comes back at Night of Champions,
Hey, Seth, could Seth possibly show up in the Battle Royal? I mean, Battle Royal for Seth, but could, Probably you don't want to take that risk of
I mean, he's training again, but he doesn't mean he's necessarily 100%. He could, you could be off crutches and still,
Again, you don't have to be at 100% to be in a Battle Royal.
Yeah, but it's wrestling, man. That thing's always physical.
No, you're right. Absolutely, yeah.
It's always a risk, but... Yeah, so MSG was fun. I'm trying to think if there's any other notes. I think the show went a little too long. It was 3.5 hours, but it was good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else off the top of my head that really stood out. Nah, it was just a fun show. So if a house show's in your area, especially when it's one that has the main stars, which MSG always does, I recommend going. It's a fun, loose atmosphere, really chill. No complaints. I'm glad I dragged my ass out of bed when I had the flu and went because it was a lot of fun and yeah, good times. Now, NXT Dallas. I really wish I went to that show. I really wish I went to Dallas. Just again, a lot been going on, but man, I'm pretty familiar with Dallas. I've been there 2 or 3 times now. Really nice city. A few people there, and great city. Also a great city with a lot of wrestling history, and a lot of wrestling history was made on NXT Takeover Dallas. Sami Zayn Nakamura had a match of the year candidate. Just a beautiful work of art. I strongly recommend going out of your way to watch this match. You're not even going out of your way. You're doing yourself a favor watching this match. Nakamura ended up getting the win with his trademark knee.
That is the best WWE match of the weekend, hands down. It will be.
It was great. I mean, it might be the best WWE event of the weekend, honestly. Well, maybe. I mean, maybe in terms of yeah, you're right.
There was the last 2 matches. I wasn't a big fan of the finishes, and Austin Aries, Baron Corbin. was a little disappointing. I think the crowd wasn't too sure they were to be behind Aries, and it kind of hurt that match a little bit.
I think honestly, I think they were more hurt, but the crowd were more hurt. Well, actually, I think the booking sort of too. It's a combination of both.
Yeah.
Kind of hurt the last two matches because Samoa Joe wasn't really a heel against Finn Balor. People love Joe.
Right.
People really like Asuka. People love Bayley.
They did boo Asuka though. She got some boos.
She did, you know, a little bit. But at first, they kind of didn't know how to react, and Asuka ended up, you know, kind of making Bayley submit. Did you make her submit or pass out?
Home finish. It was
she passed out.
If Jeremy Bowers is listening, I know he tweeted that we should check on Izzy. She apparently was very upset, and her family left right after that match before the main event. So
oh man,
Jeremy, just so you know, Izzy was very upset. She should be okay though.
Izzy is the super fan, the Bayley super fan that always appears in the crowd.
Yes, and Asuka might have sent her a tassel or something.
Yeah. Poor Izzy. But yeah, that finish was. I mean, the match was good. Good match. The finish was kind of flat. But you know what though? It was really hard to follow Zayn Nakamura. That was the real main event.
Yeah.
You know, Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, really good match, but you know, the Samoa Joe was bleeding, and they had towels, and they kind of had to stop the match.
The ending didn't seem right to me either. They did the old WrestleMania 8 Bret Hart, Rowdy Piper, and it just
or like the Steve Austin Bret Hart Survivor Series '96.
Yes,
you know,
too,
Austin went for $1 million dream.
Again, you know.
Austin went for $1 million dream, and then you know Bret Hart kind of kicked up the turnbuckle and got the pin. And the only thing I didn't really like about that finish, I didn't mind it so much. It was just that with WWE booking and the way they lay out their matches, there's times where they do a finish and then they have to do it in every single match, like super kicks. Let's do a bunch of super kicks, super kick, super kick, super kick.
DDT.
Oh well, let's do I don't know, like whatever they're. Oh, well, we all know that they love doing the distraction finish.
Yeah.
Let's do distraction. Oh, double pin. Let's do a double pin on the main roster with Sasha Banks and and Becky Lynch, and let's do a double pin here. Let's do a double pin there. They've been doing a lot of double pins lately, so thought it kind of was flat. Also, would like to have seen Samoa Joe win the title and have Finn Balor finally go to the main roster. I mean, it's rumored that the Balor Club or the Bullet Club, who might be the Balor Club, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, maybe debuting on Monday Night Raw or sometime on TV this week. I would think they debut with their former stablemate Finn Balor, but
is there a chance could somehow interfere tomorrow Mania? Even though Finn Balor's champion, that doesn't necessarily. I mean, NXT is very different from when Big E made his debut. But I remember, and I mean, it's NXT is such a polar opposite from when Big E, was NXT champion. But Big E, when he debuted, he was NXT champion. So maybe Kevin Owens.
Actually, yeah, Kevin Owens. That's true. Yeah. So there hasn't been a precedent set by those two. Like I kind of hope Finn Balor debuts. He deserves to get that main roster money. It's been long enough. I mean, what else is he gonna do? Unless, I mean, did they? I know they had the tapings tonight, but I don't think they changed the title.
No, unfortunately, though, Apollo Crews looks like he's just being thrown into the abysmal, from what I read. But
he's thrown into the abysmal abyss. What happened to him?
Just lost. I believe he lost another match.
You know what's crazy? He's still great in the ring, but I feel like charisma-wise, he's kind of like, at least on promos, it's like he hasn't been that great. But you know what? I feel like with NXT, the problem is with some guys, they're getting first-hand training, for better or worse, on how to cut these horrible scripted promos.
Yeah.
Which isn't good.
And the other problem with NXT is they're not going to create any homegrown stars, because now they're signing a bunch of indie guys.
Well, you know what?
Bobby Roode was in the crowd at NXT, which fuels that speculation. And
you know what, though? I mean, no, Bobby Roode's good to have in NXT. And
absolutely good to have. Yeah.
He'd be great. I think. Well, you know what? They do have some homegrown guys. The thing is, here's the conundrum. It's like on one hand, you want to promote this NXT brand, and it's in Triple H's best interest to keep the NXT brand strong, even though it's technically developmental, because he wants to prove to Wall Street and investors that he can run a company.
Sure. Which
is smart. But on the other hand, you have guys that deserve to make main roster money that could also contribute on a bigger level on the main roster. Like, forget Austin Aries and Finn Balor and those guys. That's obvious. But how about Chad Gable and Jason Jordan, who won the NXT tag titles? I mean, those guys should be on the main roster right now. Those guys are great.
Yep.
Those guys you could have some great matches with the New Day, great matches with Uso, great matches with anybody. And even if I wouldn't want to split them up. I'm just saying, if you wanted to do something in a singles capacity where he kept them together but had him go for singles titles. I mean, Jason Jordan, he's damn good in the ring. And Chad Gable, man, I mean, I don't want to make Kurt Angle comparisons or anything, but he's the type of guy that you could compare to a young Kurt Angle and not be laughed at. Like, he's got that kind of talent.
Well, their tag division is so strong that, it would be a shame when these guys go to the main roster because you know how the tag teams on the main roster are looked at.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame. I mean, even the Revival, who needs a name change, I think they wouldn't be money necessarily on the main roster, but how good they can make that tag division.
They'd be good. They'd be good hands. And you know what? At the end, you need some good hands that are at least like semi. The problem is this: they have a lot of good hands already on the main roster. It's just that they
don't use them.
Well, no, they use them, but they use them badly. It's like they're just losing all the time.
They don't use them to their potential.
Exactly. I mean, even a guy like Curtis Axel, and I know Curtis Axel's not the most charismatic guy, but Curtis Axel's actually really good in the ring, and he was one of the guys, along with Kurt Hawkins, that helped Rock get ready for his comeback a few years ago, and he's a guy that's, doesn't get a lot of love by the fans, but he's well respected by the boys, and he's the type of guy that I feel like could, kind of like but I think Bobby Roode's a much better worker than Curtis Axel, but Curtis Axel's not bad at all, and he's the type of guy that I feel like could, if you at least gave Curtis Axel some credibility, you know what I mean? Like, he'd be a good guy he'd be a good, like, gatekeeper type, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, it is what it is. As far as this WrestleMania card goes, well, it could be good, it could be really bad. It'll be interesting. It is interesting. All the guys are going to work hard. Quickly, I'll make predictions, and then we'll take some questions. I know it's like past 1 a.m. Eastern time here, but it's been a while since we've done a show.
For a while, so
yeah. Okay.
Oh wait, well, now that I'm an hour and 12 minutes late, but happy WrestleMania Day.
Yeah, happy WrestleMania Day, and let's go through some predictions. Brock Lesnar, Dean Ambrose. I think Dean Ambrose finds a way to win. I won't be surprised if they beat him and make him a permanent mid-card geek, but I will somehow, some way, put my faith in Mr. Vince McMahon to do the right thing, and they will put over Dean Ambrose, although I think it's going to be in a kind of a cheap way. I could see him like getting like a forklift and putting like a cement block on Brock. I could see him maybe, or like a pallet, like,
well, he can't use the chainsaw now, so that's out. Yeah,
or I could see him using a bunch of weapons, putting a bunch of chairs and other crap on top of Brock, and I could see a guy like, as I mentioned before, Bray Wyatt interfering and costing Brock. So Dean sort of gets the win and quote-unquote put over, but not really.
Way, yeah.
And Brock still sort of retains his aura, which I don't want to see, but I think that's what they're going to do. Who you got in that match?
I see Brock winning. I think they're going to give Dean the Stone Cold treatment from WrestleMania 13. Where he'll put on, it's going to make Dean, but in the end, the veteran, and I hate to say
I don't know if it's going to make Dean. I don't know if it's going to make Dean.
I think this is the one. This is the time to do it. You don't have to have Dean win to do it.
I think you do.
Cold Steve Austin back. I think you should. But if you're going to have Bray Wyatt interfere, then what good is it going to do if Brock doesn't?
Oh, no, of course.
Clean?
But I think they should just put over Dean Ambrose. But the problem is he shouldn't be Brock Lesnar either. It's just a kind of like
it's a no-win situation, really.
It is. It really is. Honestly,
it really is.
It kind of is for a couple of the main events. I mean, Shane McMahon and Undertaker, which I think should go on last, as wacky as that sounds. Just given how it's been hyped.
Listen to Wrestling Observer, and what they say is right. If that doesn't go on last, Triple H and Shane McMahon wins, Triple H is already fired, so why should he even come out?
Yeah, exactly.
It just doesn't make sense.
Well, it doesn't make sense at all. But they also haven't really talked about what would happen if Triple H won.
Yeah,
it's a weird deal. Also, they reported that apparently they were planning some stunt, a 45-foot stunt with Shane McMahon off of Titantron. So
I didn't hear it was Shane McMahon officially. I just heard it was.
Well, I mean, who else is going to do a 45-foot stunt?
Dean Ambrose.
Come on, it's Shane. It's got to be Shane McMahon with his
Dean Ambrose too.
Maybe, but I could see Shane McMahon doing something wacky and hopefully not dying. But I think Shane McMahon and Undertaker worked their ass off. I would love to see a Mean Street Posse cameo, but I feel like for a match with this serious of implications,
maybe Bobby Roode can be the new Joey Abs. How about that? They kind of look the same a little bit.
Well, if Joey Abs from like 1999. I don't know what the hell the guy looks like. I don't know what the hell the guy looks like now. So
nice to see Pete Gas and Ron. I actually saw them one time at an indie show.
I did too. I interviewed Pete Gas once. Very nice guy.
Cool guys, yeah.
Very nice guy. I got I got Shane winning. I don't know how he's gonna win. I don't know how he's gonna win. I could see Undertaker kicking his ass and then deciding to sacrifice himself for the better of the company.
Yeah.
But that would be a really cheap finish for the ending of WrestleMania.
What if, though, Undertaker sacrifices himself and Shane goes heel somehow?
I'd hate to see that. They could do that, but if they're gonna end the show, you know how WWE likes to send fans home happy at WrestleMania. You know what else I could see? I could see Vince having remorse, crying, like once Shane's like bloody or something. Undertaker choke slams Vince. Well, I don't want to. Actually, I don't even want to see him do anything to Vince because Vince is an old man.
Vince.
He does something to kill Vince that hopefully in real life is safe and doesn't destroy his 70-year-old frame, right? And then Shane, due to the distraction, gets like I don't know,
roll up finish
or a weapon or something, and just beats the Undertaker. And then afterwards, Undertaker shakes Shane's hand or something. Now this is the thing too. They said this was Undertaker's last WrestleMania, which the crowd went mild, and Vince said that on Raw.
Last match.
I could see Shane just reinstating him the next night.
Yeah, as dumb as
But yeah, I don't know. I wonder if it really.
I wonder if possibilities.
You know what though? I wonder if it really is his last WrestleMania, and if his last WrestleMania is against Shane McMahon,
losing to Shane McMahon.
On one hand, that's BS. On the other hand, you know what? I love the Undertaker, but you can make the strong argument that he should have retired years ago.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice to see him moving around better than he has. It's nice to see him looking good, but I mean, realistically speaking, the guy's had a lot of concussions. He's had a lot of injuries. I mean, he's got a beautiful wife. He's got kids. He's got money. He's got a job for life with that company. Just, you know what I mean? Like, I understand, like, getting 7 figures a year to do a couple matches a year, but, you know.
There's also a rumor of a huge surprise tomorrow night, and I don't want to necessarily get into that. If you don't want to, we can leave it as a surprise, but could that, and I know you know the name going around as well, could that possibly happen?
You really, I don't believe the Goldberg rumors at all. I really don't. I mean,
it was a credible source who mentioned it.
Who mentioned it?
It was Wrestling Observer.
Was it?
Yeah.
I did not hear that.
Ryan Alvarez mentioned it, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Did he? Are you sure? I did not hear it.
I'm pretty sure.
I didn't hear that. I don't know. I'll have to DM him. I don't know.
Double check that.
I don't think I saw rumors about it. I don't know it's coming from him. I don't know. I thought it was like I don't know. I thought it was just a Twitter thing.
I mean, there's so many possibilities. Honestly,
I cannot
see Sting show up in the match just to have the face off with Taker, even if he doesn't do anything. Here's what realistically could be a cool finish. If you have Sting, you really can't go dark with it, but almost like a hologram type of thing where he's there, Taker looks at him, lights go out, he's gone, and Shane pins him.
But then it sets up a match. Yeah, but then it sets up a match that doesn't happen. Look, here's realistically what realistically could be surprises. Okay, realistically, all right, and I could be wrong here.
CM Punk.
No, screw that. Okay, I'd say Balor Club in some capacity. Okay, not necessarily Finn Balor, but Gallows.
I could see Finn Balor.
Yeah. Okay, but I'm just saying Gallows and Anderson.
Could they do Balor? And AJ possibly? Nah.
No, well, whatever. Let's just say okay. I'm just saying in terms of appearances. Okay, Balor Club in general. John Cena, since he's talked about being at WrestleMania, and I would be shocked if he doesn't at least make an appearance. I'd be shocked. Okay, Cesaro. That's it. I don't know anybody else. Maybe there could be somebody else, but Goldberg doesn't really make any sense. You know what I mean? It just I don't know. I don't see that. I mean, they should have done if they were gonna do Goldberg, they would have done it like years ago, 5 years ago when they were in Atlanta, WCW Country, WrestleMania 27, when they should have inducted him in the Hall of Fame and they didn't, which is dumb. As far as anybody else, I don't know. I mean, it's been rumored, and I think it's almost official that Austin and Michaels and a bunch of legends are booked for the show, but they haven't been advertised.
What would they do? I mean,
Shawn
Michaels already super kicked him. Unless The Rock does something.
You know what? They'll probably just do something wacky, kind of like what they did at WrestleMania 30 with Hogan and Rock and Austin, which wasn't bad.
No, it was great.
Yeah, they could do something. They could do something like that.
Real quick. Going back to the Hall of Fame, and I know ESPN is at WrestleMania, so it makes sense, but I have on SportsCenter on the background here, and on the bottom line, under news, it was Sting, WWE wrestler Sting announces his retirement tonight at the Hall of Fame. So that's kind of interesting. Cool.
Hey, that's good for them. They're getting that press from ESPN, and Yeah, as far as other matches go, I see the New Day being the League of Nations.
Could there be a fourth member? Just for one night?
Some people talk about Hulk Hogan. It would just, I don't know. I'd be able to.
Jonathan Coachman, there you go.
Well, he's already done the thing. He did the thing at MSG, and he did the thing on Raw. I mean,
People were saying it should be The Rock, but that definitely wouldn't work. Actually, you know what would be cool if it was Titus O'Neil?
It would be cool. I mean, it wouldn't make any sense in a storyline standpoint, but it would be nice. And man, that guy is such a good dude. He didn't deserve that suspension, and he really deserves to be there and kind of be doing his thing. But that
was kind of like what Ric Flair, I think, kind of was talking about at the beginning of his speech when he was like, if I don't follow what they want, he said something to that effect.
He'll get in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's true. I see New Day winning.
I could see Kevin Owens retaining in the ladder match.
I kind of would like to see him retain. At the same time, I really think they need to kind of give Sami a boost. I'm not going to say he's going to become Tyler Breeze if he doesn't win that match, but they really have not done a good job at all of introducing him to a bigger audience.
No.
So hopefully he'll win, but you know what? I'm going to say
tomorrow night the crowd knows who he is, so you
know what? I'm going to say Kevin. Man, I'm going to say Kevin Owens wins.
Come on, do it.
You know what? Screw it. Zayn's Middle Eastern like me. I'm gonna go with Sami Zayn. Why not? I'll show him some love.
Yeah.
I'll go with Sami Zayn. New Day winning. I got Ryback winning, although I do think Kalisto should win. Okay, but not just based on the MSG crowd reaction, but just his upside.
I'm gonna say the League of Nations win.
Really?
Too obvious that they don't. Yeah.
Who cares? They want to make New Day big stars. I think. Come on, you gotta pick the New Day.
3. Come on, man.
New Day's going to win. You know it. You're just trying to be contrarian here.
Somebody has to be.
Right. I think Roman Reigns wins the title. But if I were booking, I would have Shane win the Hell in a Cell somehow. I'd have Triple H actually retain the title over Roman Reigns. Maybe do what you talked about, have The Rock accidentally cost him and Reigns turns heel.
Yeah.
Next night on Raw, you have Shane with the new regime say, you know what, Triple H, I want to fire you, but the fans deserve a title match tonight, and you're going to go one-on-one against the man that beat Brock Lesnar, Dean Ambrose. And then the Raw after WrestleMania, you have Dean Ambrose beat Triple H. Triple H could, go to go into hiding for a little bit, and then if
depending on what Dean Ambrose does in that match, you do not even let that guy show up to wrestle on Monday night.
Have you seen how much punishment the Dean Ambrose character has taken?
I know that.
And then dude, he had a last man standing match at Royal Rumble, and then was in the final 2 at the Royal Rumble match.
I know, but that's why these guys are always getting hurt too.
No, I know, and
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying.
No, I know, but that's what I would do, and I would Dean Ambrose beat Triple H and hold the title. And if you want to do something with Triple H, maybe down the road they do a brand split, where they have Triple H kind of be like the GM of SmackDown, and
as long as they don't do 2 titles
and incorporate NXT. No, I hope maybe you don't have to. You could do like the original brand split where you had like one world title. You know what I mean? Which would be fine. Which would be fine. But at the end of the day, man, the brand split doesn't even matter if they don't book the guys properly. Because as my good friend Kevin Marshall once said, a brand split would just equal more bodies. Doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna have better booking. So, but that's what I would do. But I think Roman's gonna win. I'm trying to think any other matches. Divas match, I got the baby faces winning. Divas title match, I have Sasha Banks winning. Although I would actually like to see Becky Lynch win. I think she's a great wrestler. She's the best worker out of the 3. And you know what? This isn't anything against her. She's a little bit older than both girls, so why not give it to her for a little while? Run with her. Sasha Banks has got a lot of time. Charlotte's already been champion. Give it to Becky a little bit. It'd be a nice story. It'd be a nice story too. I mean, Sasha's got a really inspirational story, but Becky does too. I mean, she came all the way from Ireland and trained under Finn Balor.
In the match,
absolutely. It would be a really nice moment to see Becky Lynch get the win.
The Rey Mysterio moment, yeah. No.
Yeah. I mean, because you can make the strong argument that out of the 3, I mean, she's the most unlikely to have been there to get there. You know what I mean, for her background and everything. And from what I understand too, I think she was out of business for a few years. I think as well at one point. So for her to get all the way to the stage, I mean, it's a great honor. And yeah, I also have a crush on Becky Lynch, and I'd like to see her win.
Who doesn't?
But yeah, right. But and there's rumors that they may be bringing in a women's title.
A new one, yes.
So destroying the Divas title. And
I saw a prototype of it. What was supposedly
a rumored prototype, or alleged prototype, we should say.
Yes.
Which is essentially the current WWE title, but with a different color scheme, like it's like
it's a
white
red background. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. I don't know.
Look, it's more credibility than a butterfly.
Oh no, absolutely. But I think we'll have to see how it looks when they
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
the
So,
Battle Royal, who knows who's going to win that? That's.
you know what? I'll say, damn it.
I'm almost thinking Kane, just because.
No.
And let's be honest.
No.
Look. I would have no issue. Look, the Big Show last year.
Stop.
Kane's,
I do it.
You know what?
Stop.
I want Goldust to win. To be honest, that guy deserves over anybody.
Stop it.
He's just another guy.
Stop.
It's like his 21st year in like.
I don't
WWE.
care.
Come on.
It's an Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. It does not
Hey,
equate.
which reminds me, Mark Henry's face wasn't on that poster for the Battle Royal. Interesting.
Yeah. Well,
Interesting.
anyway.
Bring back Fandango.
Look, I
must have just said something to make somebody mad. It just like got a real bad chill in my house. It's kind of weird. I'm like,
all right. Listen.
Moving on.
Listen.
Might be
if there's no surprises, I got Braun Strowman winning. But since they moved it to the main card, the pay-per-view card, I'm gonna say, damn it.
Say John Cena. Screw it. I'm going with Cena.
I want to see Cesaro back though.
But winning the Battle Royal does nothing for Cesaro.
Yeah, but you know what? It's better than what he was doing before, which is jobbing.
He won the Battle Royal last time, and look what happened.
I know, but still, at least to be something. At least to be a nice moment for him for one night.
Sure.
John Cena's had his moment. You know what? Screw it. I'm going with my boy Cesaro. And you're going with who? John Cena?
You know what? Just because he's here paying attention to our show, I'll say Randy Orton. No, I'm not really going to say Randy Orton. I'm going to say John Cena.
Yeah, our buddy Manpreet is a huge Randy Orton fan, and I know he wants to see Randy Orton win.
I think you have a better chance of Bob Orton winning, but that's specific.
Yeah. Good one. Good one.
Yeah, thank you.
I know you try. And is that all the matches? I think that's all the matches,
no,
right?
we're missing something.
Are we? Let me see here. Shane. Okay.
Well, there's 3 matches on the pre-show, which is the 10 Diva Tag, Kalisto.
Oh, Usos and Dudley Boys. I got the Usos winning, but that doesn't really matter.
I have the Dudley Boys winning with tables. Poor Usos can never get on the main card, but anyway.
Yeah, they deserve to, but
let's see, and then there's 6 matches on the main show, which
I'm looking through. Oh, AJ Styles, Chris Jericho. That's the one we missed.
Well, if you pick Jericho, then we have a problem.
No, I'm picking AJ Styles, but I'm afraid they're gonna pick Jericho because I'm afraid they're gonna have Reigns win the title, keep him as a babyface.
Jericho win just to make up for WrestleMania 29.
Oh, because he lost the Fandango. Good God. So those are WrestleMania predictions. Now, without further ado, at 1:30 a.m. Eastern Time, let's get to some questions and comments here. And then I'm going to...
Thank everybody for staying with us.
Yeah, thank you everybody for staying with us. And then I am going to go and... I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll just finish binge watching Daredevil, which, by the way, is a great show you guys should watch on Netflix. Great show. And I really like Jessica Jones. And I'll just give a shout out to Marvel and Netflix. Really great show. Okay, features interracial dating, features gay marriage, features a bunch of strong female leads. And guess what? It's not exploitive about it. It doesn't smack you in the face. It's just it's accepted and it's awesome. And Kristen Ritter is also a celebrity crush of mine, and she was awesome in Breaking Bad as Jane. But Jessica Jones is great. It's great. And a lot of people give Orange Is the New Black a lot of love, and rightfully so for its diverse cast and just its presentation. But Jessica Jones is awesome. If you're a fan of strong women like myself, okay, and come from a family of strong women like myself, and Scott as well with his beautiful daughter and beautiful wife who just celebrated her birthday, I strongly recommend Jessica Jones. Check it out. But you should also watch Daredevil, because I found out that the two universes are actually connected and intertwined. So check that out. Anyway,
Jimmy the Plant wants you to do a live chat, or us to do a live chat. I don't think I could do 6 hours.
I can't do 6.
I don't think my wife would allow me to.
I would love to do 6 hours, but I got a lot. Again, I got a lot going on. I actually still have some work to do for my other job in digital advertising that I've been doing on the weekend, because I was out all week with the flu the previous week, and yeah, I would love to do it, but yeah, 6 hours would be really long. Even 4 hours would be really long. It's very time consuming, and been going back and forth to grandma. Been a lot of stuff going on. So also it's really hard, but I would like to do it eventually again. Maybe for payback. Hopefully when things calm down. You know what I mean? Maybe for payback. We'll see. We'll see. All right. Let's see. Randy Orton will return and win the Battle Royal. That ain't happening.
He might not come back until late in the summer.
Yeah, Brennan, and he should, honestly. Why not rest up a little bit if you can? I mean, I understand he wants to get that money. Yeah, I mean, I understand he wants that money, but I mean, he's one of those guys I think that has a 7-figure downside anyway. So even if he's not wrestling, he's guaranteed a good amount of money. Shane says our booking is really good, but Brendan says that it's a WWE. They're not going to do that.
Which is true.
Undertaker already said it was in his last WrestleMania, according to John Doe, but I don't know. He may have said that in an interview, but that was before stipulation. I mean, Sting also said he wasn't retiring, and then he retires. Apollo Crews got submitted by Samoa Joe at the tapings, apparently, which that's not bad, Scott.
It's not, but I mean, the guy gets bumped off the NXT pay-per-view, the NXT live event. And
I understand.
They didn't need him to be the sacrifice for Samoa Joe.
No, that is true. I understand what you're saying. I understand, but it's NXT, and he could recover from it. He could always get called up tomorrow. He's talented enough where he could get called up tomorrow, and I think he'd be just fine. I mean, on the mic, I think he's got to get better. Not his fault. I think it's the promos, but I mean, in the ring, he's already there. I think. Okay. Well, I know he's awesome in the ring. If Roman versus Triple H is last, I can see some fans leaving early.
Yeah, man.
You know what? It is.
You would want to watch that match just to hear the crowd.
You would. I think that crowd's going to be great in terms of all the chants and stuff. It's going to be like the anti. It's almost going to be like the anti Randy Orton Triple H or anti Randy or anti Chris Jericho Triple H. The other two matches that Triple H infamously had last at WrestleManias that followed great matches and had dead crowds and people. And now I don't think people necessarily care about the title. I don't think people necessarily care about the feud. But I think in this, and I could be wrong because it is a long show, but I think in this particular instance, especially because you have so many rabid fans from Europe and everything else, I think that the match will have heat, not because fans care what's going on in the ring, but because they're going to want to crap on WWE trying to quote-unquote make Roman Reigns. I could be wrong.
In reality, that would be a shame when you really think about it. It would be great to watch, but when you go into it, that would be a shame that happens.
Right. Although, I think Roman, he in recent interviews he hasn't come off very well as far as like talking about the booze and stuff. But you know what? I mean, it's you got to think about it this way too. It's human nature to want to be liked, and
absolutely.
On one hand, it's like you can tell Roman, "Oh, suck it up." I mean, John Cena sucks up. On the other hand, you know what? I mean, I can understand. This is the star business. When you're at the top, you kind of have to have somewhat of a big ego and supreme confidence in your abilities. And in reality, he's really not a bad worker at all. And he really hasn't been in a lot of bad matches. If you really think about it, Roman hasn't had a lot of bad matches. It's just the creative sucks.
Well, I think the difference with him and Cena is Cena at least kind of earned his way, where with Roman, since day one, everybody knew he was going to be the guy.
Yeah,
nobody knew Cena was going to be the guy.
True. I mean, I think
people.
Back
to Cena, he was about to be released.
That is true. I mean, people don't think about Cena overcoming adversity because his character's been booked so strong for so many years. But yeah, there was a point in time where he was on the bubble, and then WWE kind of got their heads out of their asses and said, "Holy crap, this guy has talent. Let's do something with him." And he saved his career too by freestyling. Stephanie McMahon overheard him, and of course, the rest is history. Okay. Sting interferes in the Hell in a Cell. I can't see that happening.
I could see Kane interfering with Sting.
Oh, God, don't say that.
I still want to see Sting.
Yeah, Angel Rivera, how do you not have 2 billion subscribers? I don't think there's that many wrestling fans, but I appreciate the kind words. Zip Away says, I think it's cool how NXT is getting these TNA people. I'm glad that my guy Bobby Roode is coming over. I am too. I don't think they'll pay him as much as TNA did, but at the same time, we don't know what TNA's pay situation is, and what's the point of having a nice contract if you're not going to know if your paycheck's coming on time?
The only problem with Bobby Roode is, and the guy is a great wrestler, but that's the problem. He's a great wrestler. There's no gimmick there. But
Vince, you know what? He's underrated on the mic. But you know what though? He's really underrated on the mic, and he's good at cutting like fiery promos. I think it's I think it's almost an unfair label. He's just like a good hand. I mean, he proved in TNA he could have a lot of great matches.
I think the guy could be a champion. I mean, I have no doubt about that. But the way the main roster is, you need a gimmick, and him coming out as the it factor just, well, pardon the pun, but it's not it.
Yeah, I think you know what? I think he'd do just fine in the main roster though. I don't think he's gonna get on the main roster.
I think James Storm should never have went back to TNA, and Beer Money could have kicked ass. How about that?
Yeah, but you know what though? If you're James Storm, I mean, what are you gonna do at your age? I mean,
Bobby Roode's just there. I mean, right there too.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know.
At the time, a couple months ago, right? You're thinking, well,
yeah, you're thinking, hey, I need that guaranteed
the
money, and TNA has that. Oh, but you know what too? To be fair to Bobby Roode, I know a lot of people are saying, well, why would he walk away from that TNA contract? Because he could still get them on the hook for all that money and everything. I do recall talking to a few people years ago that said that Bobby Roode was always really smart with his money, and I don't know if he invested in real estate. I think it was real estate they told me, but apparently he's always been really smart with his money. So one would hope that Bobby Roode ain't exactly hurting right now. You know what I mean? And also too, while he may not make the same as he did in TNA, think about this, and I don't know what his contract would look like, and I'm assuming he signed if they showed him on TV, but maybe, and I could be wrong here, maybe he gets like the Johnny Gargano type of deal, where he's involved with NXT and gets paid by WWE, but he also ends up doing some shots for Evolve. And if he does some shots for Evolve, maybe that opens him up, that WWE allows him to work other independents that are, quote unquote, okay in their books, since, they're working with independents with the Global Cruiserweight Series, like Revolution Pro and a few other companies. So maybe, he could get that Gargano Ciampa type of thing.
Well, the early Samoa Joe, yeah.
Yeah, Samoa Joe before he got the guaranteed contract.
And Gargano just officially signed, I believe it was full-time deals with
WWE. Good for them. And yeah, they're part. I think they're part of the Global Cruiserweight Series.
I'm sure
right?
they will be. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what was confirmed, Kota Ibushi, right? Yes. He was confirmed or is all but confirmed for the Cruiserweight Series. Who else? Yeah, I believe Kota Ibushi was. Who else? Noam Dar. There was a few other guys. Zack Sabre Jr. is confirmed for that. So yeah, there's a lot of guys. Let me pull that up in the meantime and answer some questions. What do you think is next for Bray Wyatt? Unfortunately, I think it's going to be Brock Lesnar, and I would actually really like to see.
Man, that's the question.
I would really like to see Bray Wyatt as a babyface. But
I would like to see him go against Triple H. Actually, I think him and Triple H at Payback would be pretty cool. But
yeah, they'd be awesome. Okay, let's see. We got who are the guys? We got the first 7 people here. Zack Sabre Jr., Akira Tozawa, who's awesome. Ho Ho Lun, Noam Dar, who's really good, and of course Johnny Gargano, Rich Swann, and Ciampa in the series, and Kota Ibushi is rumored to be in it. Well, I think he is. I think he's pretty much in it. I don't know if he's officially confirmed, but I think it's almost confirmed. So, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. That's cool, man. Well, that's more than cool. That's freaking awesome. I mean, that's some great work.
Well, are they going to make that like a full-time title, or is it just a one-shot deal?
I don't know.
Really
I don't know. I mean, it might be a thing where it's like just the best of Super Juniors, where they kind of just do it like every. I mean, right. I don't know when the last time.
Just a tournament.
Yeah, like a tournament like every year, or if they're going to make it into like a crowning of a new cruiserweight champion, which would be cool too. But the only issue I have with that is that there's a lot of guys in WWE these days that are, I don't say on the small side, but compared to the roided up guys of the past, but compared to the roided up guys in the past, they kind of look more like normal dudes that happen to work out, which I have no problem with. I mean, honestly, I don't like the big.
Shawn Michaels is basically a cruiserweight.
Yeah, well, in WWE's eyes, although Shawn Michaels in his prime was pretty jacked though. I mean, there was one point in his career where he was more jacked than Triple H. I mean, if you go back and watch some of those old DX skits, it's pretty weird to see Shawn Michaels bigger than Triple H. But yeah, I know what you're saying. We'll see. We'll see. But it's gonna be awesome. I'll say that it's gonna be awesome, and I really hope that it ends with a guy not only winning like a trophy or a title, but getting a spot on the main roster too. That'd be kind of cool.
Yes.
Get some. What a great way to get some internet buzz, right? Win a great tournament and then beat all these great wrestlers. Get this buzz. I mean, a lot of these guys already have indie buzz and international buzz.
Become a jobber to Rusev. So.
Oh God, Scott, ever the optimist.
Oh, because I'm so far off in what I say, right?
Yeah. Sup, Fred? This is Gaming Fork. What's up, man? Isaiah Ross asks, is Nakamura overrated? And I ask, are you smoking crack? No, he's not overrated. He's rated just fine. He's great. He is great. And I'm not just saying that because people watch his matches or maybe saw some gifs and are like, oh my God, no, he's He's a Hall of Fame level wrestler. He's great. Okay, if John Cena got taken apart by the Hall of Fame crowd, imagine the reception Reigns is going to get. Yeah, I didn't like the fact that the crowd kind of booed John Cena. You know what I mean? It was a little kind of annoying. Like,
I think it's kind of like the Kurt Angle at this point with the whole "you suck" thing.
Yeah, like John Cena.
It's kind of the whole gimmick now, you know?
Yeah, I know. It's the Hall of Fame. I mean, whatever. At least it was first celebrity induction, but it was kind of cheap. Also, I really didn't like the fact that they were chanting Undertaker during the Sting speech. I mean, look, I know the fans want to see him against Sting, and Sting handled it well. He just said, "I love you guys," and let them kind of chant their hearts out.
He wanted to say it more, you could tell,
But yeah, because he wanted that match, and they wouldn't give it to him. But I don't know. I was kind of annoyed. I was like, listen, fans, like, he's probably going to retire here. Just stop chanting Undertaker. I kind of wanted to give him like a stinger splash, but whatever. He handled it well, like the good dude he is. So yeah, but no, Nakamura is not overrated, and yeah, I think the crowd is going to be absolutely brutal to Roman Reigns. Do you ever think Roman Reigns will become a mid-carder? If he lasts as long as Mark Henry and Big Show, he may be. But who knows? I don't really know what Reigns' career trajectory is these next 10 years. I mean, again, he's a good worker and everything. I just think that creatively he's got to get on track. I think he needs to take his I think he needs to take his cousin's advice. I don't know if you saw the Instagram post that Rock had a few days ago. He talked about how at WrestleMania 13 it was one of the a hard day in his life because he got booed, and then a few months later he got injured. And the crowd didn't give a damn about him, and he wasn't making WWE any money. A few months later, he returns as a heel. He tells Vince, give me a couple minutes to be myself and say how I feel. And 6 months later, he was the hottest heel in the company, and the rest is history. I think that was kind of like a shot at WWE, and not a shot, but kind of like a nudge at Roman Reigns saying, hey, WWE, you got to let this guy be more of himself or say how he's feeling. And come on, anybody would be pissed off that they're getting booed. And I think it's kind of a nudge to Roman Reigns that says, you know what, bro? Don't go against the crowd. Go with the flow. Go with it. Become a heel. The problem is, well, it's not. I don't know if it's a problem. I guess in a way it's a problem. They still need a new top guy because you can't keep relying on Cena. And clearly it's not Roman Reigns right now.
And it's not Dean Ambrose right now either.
Yeah, although it should be. It should be. and two, if Roman Reigns becomes a heel, are fans going to care about him? Because I think there is going to be a segment of fans that are going to cheer him because now he's going to be a heel, which is a weird reverse psychology.
Fans would probably cheer him.
Which is so weird in this era, but it's understandable. At the same time, maybe there's still fans that will. Maybe there's still a lot of fans that might just not care. Like they'll react to him and whatever, but they still won't want to see him. You know what I mean? He'll have that like Sheamus heat. You know what I mean? Could you see him getting to the point where maybe he becomes like a? It's weird because he's gotten bigger reactions than Sheamus ever has throughout his career. But could you see him maybe, if he turns heel, eventually becoming like a Sheamus? Maybe booked better than Sheamus, but a guy that, when he comes out, he gets heat, but it's not like, oh my God, I hate this guy. It's more like it's not like I hate the character. It's more like I want him to go away. You know what I mean? That's the question. I don't know.
If you would almost get the CM Punk heat, where we like this guy as a bad guy. I mean, CM Punk was cheered as a bad guy because people liked him. And I know it's a different situation, but, a badass Roman Reigns could become the guy. And people
eventually, but they still, in the meantime, need a rival, which I guess, it could be Seth.
Unfortunately, it could be a face Bray Wyatt. It could be a Dean Ambrose. It could be a lot of people. And
but you know what? There's more potential as a heel. But I still think that even if Roman Reigns becomes heel, and I think it's a very realistic possibility, I really feel like they need to make a new top babyface, and they should do it right now. You know what I mean?
Who are you? I mean,
again,
everybody wants to see Ambrose, but
I think
they've tried that.
No, they haven't tried it. They've half-assed it.
They pushed him to a certain level. Is his time? Is that window closed? Is it? Do you need a brand new guy?
I don't think so. Not yet. Not yet. I think. You know what?
AJ Styles. You need somebody like that.
You know what? It's crazy. We're talking about all these guys that they need. You just named AJ Styles and Finn Balor. What about Nakamura? What about Samoa Joe? If you put those four guys...
Samoa Joe's not your top babyface, though.
No, but I'm just saying, as far as... Well, he could be. I'm just saying, if you put... Just think about it. Imagine those four guys protected as main eventers in the current main event mix. My God, how much better the prospects of like Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose getting over as top guys would be.
Yeah.
Being able to work with those guys.
Hey, who your top babyface could also be is Seth Rollins.
Well, that's what I mean, but that's months away. Why not? Why not? If you can make a guy now.
Do it now.
Yeah, why not? I mean, Jesus, if there was ever a time, you know what I mean? It's the time. It's
these guys like main event guys.
This is the one.
Man.
Listen, God bless Shane McMahon, but they were so low and thin on guys, relevant guys, main event relevant guys, that they had to call Shane McMahon to wrestle The Undertaker. It's unique, it's interesting, but it's also kind of sad.
It's also Shane McMahon.
It's Shane McMahon.
No disrespect, because when the guy was in his prime, he
looks good right now. I'll give him that. I'm not a fan of this match, but you know what? He's worked his ass off, and physically he looks great. So I'll give him his props. I still think he should dye his hair, for God's sakes. If he could freaking.
Taker does. Why shouldn't Shane?
Exactly. But seriously though, in the year that you have to call Shane McMahon, okay, to wrestle The Undertaker and quote unquote save WrestleMania. Okay, this is the time where you should be making new stars. I know they're trying with Roman.
They are. Shane McMahon. Guy. He's kind of like that young upstart Triple H, you know?
Jesus, man, yeah.
Those two are going to go neck and neck for Rookie of the Year this year on PWI.
Oh, my God, yeah. Paul Levesque's got a bright future.
God.
And all right, well,
I don't know how he got a front row seat to the Hall of Fame tonight. Anyway.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, this is Vince McMahon. He wakes up, goes downstairs, has a big bowl of Bootios, and thinks, well, what can I do today?
Yeah, I'm sure he thinks all this is...
Finn Balor.
Oh, yeah.
And then he looks over at the wall and says, my son Shane can do it.
Yeah, why not?
What he does. That was a horrible impression.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure Vince is like, God damn, we got this great Roman Reigns feud. Yeah.
Shane can wrestle The Undertaker, damn it.
Yeah. Well, at the very least, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. We'll see what happens. I think me and you both would be shocked if there's no interference in that match. I'll say this. If there's something I don't like about this WrestleMania, besides a lot of things, it's the fact that the top three matches are all like no. Oh yeah, Triple H and Roman's now no DQ. So you have the top three match. Yeah, it's on like the shirts and posters. So you have all these matches that are freaking no DQ. It's like, how are you not going to burn this crowd out? And how are guys not going to get injured? I mean, do you really want to have all these matches that are no DQ, like the ladder match and everything else, where guys are going to kill themselves and get hurt when you already have guys getting hurt? I mean, it's too late now. I mean, it's already going to happen.
Triple H and Brock are part-time, so that really wouldn't hurt them.
But you know what, though? It's still not good for Brock to get a concussion, and he's gotten concussions before. Hell, he got a concussion at WrestleMania 29 against Triple H in a street fight.
Dean Ambrose is going to get a concussion, yeah.
Oh, God. I mean, yeah, I know. But Dean Ambrose could get hurt. I mean, he takes a lot of crazy bumps.
Well, look at the ladder match. I mean, come on. Somebody's getting hurt in that match,
yeah,
too.
and then Shane McMahon and Undertaker. I mean, listen, even if they work a quote-unquote safe Hell in a Cell match, which is an oxymoron. I mean, come on, man. Really? I mean, I don't know. In terms of wrestler safety, you know what's a novel concept? How about booking wrestling feuds with captivating stories that require only a one-on-one match?
Minimal gimmick.
Yeah. What a novel concept. But anyway, if you don't got anything else, I think it's time to wrap it up.
I have one more. I'm going to throw this out there. This is the long shot of the year. But is it possible that, again, depending on how the layout of the matches go, that in Hell in a Cell, we see Stephanie come out and plead with The Undertaker for Shane, and something goes from there? Is there a possibility of something to that effect? Maybe, like, where Taker kind of just goes nuts on people.
Maybe in terms of like a heel turn, like a square. But I would hate to see that. It
doesn't. I mean, like almost like a Taker heel turn, where if he's going to go out and this is it, and Shane still wins, just go out and just destroy everybody. I mean, could you see him?
Well, I don't think it's put his hands on.
Could you even see like Hunter coming out and being like, "Enough's enough already" or something?
No, I can't see that.
You don't see anything. I mean,
I could see a swerve, but I don't. I hope that doesn't happen. I really hope.
Well, that's my long shot. So let's keep that in mind tomorrow night if it happens. So,
all right. Well, it's time to.
I don't hope it happens. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Let's keep that in mind.
Well, it's time to wrap it up, folks. I'm going to get my voice back. I am
2
going
o'clock.
to figure out what the hell I'm
It's
going
2
to do.
o'clock. Let's just go all the way until 5 tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Why not? Yeah. Ugh. Well, I got some work to do. I got to get some stuff done. Well, actually, I got some sleep now because it's like 2 a.m. here.
Yeah.
But we'll be back. I'll probably do a quick WrestleMania pre-show, maybe around like 4 p.m. Eastern time. Just to get everybody up to speed if there's any like news and rumors. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of news, going into WrestleMania. So I'll do a quick podcast there. As far as any other content coming up, later this week I will have my reviews of Minecraft Story Mode Episode 5, The Walking Dead Michonne Episode 2, and a couple indie games on our other channel, youtube.com/TSC Gaming. I just uploaded my Hitman review on there. Not Bret the Hitman Hart, Hitman the Game. And that's really about it. If all goes well with all the work I got to get done, for this ad campaign I'm working on for my other job, I should be able to recap the Raw after WrestleMania. That's my goal, to be able to get home on time and cover the Raw after WrestleMania and then do a recap of it. We'll see, but yeah, we got you covered for WrestleMania, folks. Even with Walking Dead on in the background, I will find a way. Maybe I'll just avoid Walking Dead, unfollow all the Walking Dead accounts I follow on Twitter for a night, and then just kind of watch WrestleMania. I might just do that. We'll see what happens. But I really kind of want to see what Negan and Lucille have to say to Daryl and all the people they captured in Walking Dead.
Even if you know it on Twitter and you see it, you can still go back and watch it. Come on.
I know, but it's just the spoil. You know what I mean? It's a big spoiler. I mean, dude, this guy Negan is like a legit heel. I mean, he is, the hype for him is epic. And Walking Dead hasn't killed like a real main character since like maybe season 2 or 3. So I mean, Game of Thrones does it all the time with main characters, but Walking Dead hasn't in a long time. It's like killing off the Authority. You know what I mean? Like, you won't believe it. You won't believe it if you don't see it. So gonna be pretty legit. But I'm gonna go watch some Daredevil. Again, I recommend people seeking out Jessica Jones and Daredevil. A lot of good shows on Netflix. Gotta give them props. If you ever want like kind of like a contrast between the wackiness of Raw and then how an actual TV show's written cohesively, I suggest watching some of these shows on Netflix. They're really good, and you kind of get a good perspective on how storytelling should be. But WrestleMania should be fun. I thank everybody for listening. If you listen to the full nearly 2 hours of this podcast, I really appreciate it. Scott and I had a lot to catch up with, and again, apologies for my absence. Just been, it's been kind of a tough time. Again, I had the flu. My grandma was diagnosed with cancer, which sucks, and then she got pneumonia, and she's kind of dealing with that right now. So she's been in the hospital for like over a week, and it's been a tough time for my fam. But I appreciate, the friendship that I have with Scott. I appreciate all the love and support I've gotten from all you. If you want to see my big, beautiful face on camera, you will see it at WrestleMania Recap Sunday, so have no fear.
Better you than me.
And I'll just leave it at that. And, if you enjoyed this podcast, please click the like button. Please share this with all your friends. Please subscribe to us on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud.com/TSC News. If you like gaming like I do, please subscribe to my gaming channel, YouTube.com/TSC Gaming. And, what is there more to say other than thank you, God bless y'all, and let's get ready for WrestleMania Sunday. Woo!